Chapter 862. Phew. Who? In the depths of the elixir cavern, Ningyu let out a long sigh as he looked at the 300 jade bottles placed around the elixir cavern. Although the last 100 herbs were extremely difficult to refine, with the scroll provided by Donghe, Ningyu managed to refine all of them without any mishaps. After refining 300 medicinal herbs, Ningyu didn't have the slightest bit of excitement. This was because Ningyu knew very well that this was just the beginning. The most important part of the life creation pill was the proportion of herbs. If he was not careful, he would lose everything. In the best-case scenario, the pill would explode. In the worst-case scenario, he would be affected. There's still half an hour before the scroll's effect ends. I need to use this half an hour to settle the proportion of the 300 bottles of medicinal liquid. Ningyu's eyes turned solemn. Without any hesitation, he picked up a jade bottle, removed 1/3 of the medicinal liquid, and poured the rest into the elixir cavern. Swoosh. Following that, Ningyu used his peak rank 7 soul strength to repeat the same actions. He picked up the jade bottle, removed the medicinal liquid, and directed the rest into the elixir cavern. Although half an hour was very tight, Ningyu did not dare to be careless. He remained cautious and focused. 10 minutes passed. Ningyu completed the proportion of 100 bottles of medicinal liquid. 20 minutes passed. Ningyu completed the proportion of 200 bottles of medicinal liquid. The moment the 30th minute arrived. Rise. Ningyu bellowed. Immediately, the vitality in his consciousness poured out and entered the elixir cavern without reservation. At the same time, Ningyu's peak rank 6 soul strength entered the elixir cavern and began to compress the medicinal liquid. Sizzle. As the medicinal liquid was compressed, it made sizzling sounds. Damn it. My soul strength is not strong enough. Suddenly, when the medicinal liquid was compressed to 1/10, Ningyu's expression changed and he cursed. The life creation pill was the best among the rank 8 pills. With Ningyu's peak rank 6 soul strength, he naturally could not compress the medicinal liquid. If he couldn't strengthen his soul power in time, this batch of life-giving pills would most likely end in failure. What should I do? Ningyu's face was gloomy and uncertain. His eyeballs rolled as he tried to think of a countermeasure. In his current situation, Ningyu could only hold on for 10 minutes at most. After 10 minutes, if he couldn't increase the strength of his soul force to the peak of the 7th grade, then he could only declare the concoction a failure. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was thinking of countermeasures, the space in front of him suddenly split open and a cultivator appeared. You are Danny. Looking at the cultivator who suddenly appeared, Ningyu was stunned at first. Then, he revealed a shocked expression. Because Ningyu discovered that the martial artist in front of him was not a human, but a pill puppet. Human? When the half-step supremacy Dan Kai saw Ningyu, he was also slightly stunned. However, the half-step supremacy Dan Kai did not stay stunned for long. He said sinisterly, "Looks like my luck is not bad. I've just arrived at the Great Xia Kingdom and I've already met a human. Although his cultivation is only at the half-step manifestation realm, it's better than nothing. I'll devour and refine you first, then return to inform the young master." As soon as he finished speaking, the half-step supremacy Dan Kai stomped his feet on the ground and charged out. Damn it. If I had known earlier, I would have asked the Red Devil to follow me. Ningyu cursed in his heart. He immediately wielded the Red Devil sword and slashed out a sword wave. The instant the sword wave slashed out, Ningyu fled at high speed. Without the Red Devil sword's power was reduced by 20 to 30%. In addition, Ningyu had expended too much of his essence chi. Therefore, he basically had no chance of winning against the half-step supremacy Dan Kai. Want to leave? How can it be so easy? Seeing that Ningyu wanted to leave, the half-step supremacy Dan Kai casually repelled the sword wave in midair and chased after Ningyu. Bang! Ningyu had only taken a dozen steps when the half-step supremacy Dan Kai caught up to him. In order to ensure that the cauldron wouldn't shatter, Ningyu could only use his body to withstand the fist of the half-step supremacy Dan Kai. There was no doubt about the result. A crisp sound rang out. Ningyu's body was sent flying several feet away. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and his aura rapidly weakened. Ha ha ha, I really don't understand why Kumo would die in the Great Xia Kingdom. With a wave of his hand, the half-step supremacy Dan Kai did not continue attacking. Instead, he laughed maniacally and said, "Looks like the 10 puppet warriors that young master asked me to choose are unnecessary. Not good." The half-step supremacy Dan Kai's maniacal laughter had yet to end when he revealed a look of horror and hurriedly retreated. However, the half-step supremacy Dan Kai's retreating speed was clearly slower by half a beat. Swish! A small branch suddenly shot out from Ning Yu's body. It drew a beautiful arc in midair and appeared behind the half-step supremacy Dan Kai. The flower bud on the branch emitted a terrifying devouring power. Ah! The half-step supremacy Dan Kai let out a hysterical scream before he was completely devoured by the flower bud. Wung wung! After devouring the half-step supremacy Dan Kai, the flower bud trembled slightly in midair before regaining its calmness. There were still 6 petals on the flower bud, and the number did not decrease. From afar, Ning Yu's mouth was slightly agape when he saw how powerful the flower bud was. Swish! However, the moment Ning Yu opened his mouth, a pillar of energy shot out from the flower bud. Before Ning Yu could react, it directly entered Ning Yu's consciousness. Ning Yu did not dare to be slow. He immediately sat down cross-legged and circulated the spirit transformation technique to absorb the energy in his consciousness. Swish! However, before Ning Yu could finish absorbing the energy in his consciousness, another pillar of light shot out from the flower bud. Pure soul force. Feeling the terrifying soul force undulations from the pillar of light, Ning Yu was ecstatic. He hurriedly suppressed the energy in his consciousness and focused on devouring the pure soul force. Ning Yu's soul force was at 6th grade. If he devoured and refined all the soul force, his soul force would at least reach early stage 7th grade. Furthermore, after reaching early stage 7th grade, there would still be a lot of pure soul force left. Once his soul force was raised to early stage 7th grade, coupled with the remaining pure soul force, Ning Yu's success rate in refining the regeneration pill would increase to 50%. Bam! 5 minutes later, a dull sound was heard. Early stage 7th grade. At this moment, Ning Yu raised his soul force to early stage 7th grade. As soon as his soul force reached early stage 7th grade, Ning Yu took out the alchemy cauldron. His soul force entered the cauldron and began to compress the medicinal liquid. At the same time, to increase the success rate, Ning Yu threw the remaining pure soul force into the alchemy cauldron. Combining it with his early stage 7th grade soul force, he carefully compressed the medicinal liquid. Ning Yu was very careful in the process of compressing the medicinal liquid. He did not even dare to wipe off the sweat on his forehead. Drip, drip. Bean-sized beads of sweat rolled down Ning Yu's cheeks. Rise. After another 2 hours, Ning Yu suddenly opened his eyes. He slapped the alchemy cauldron with both hands and the lid flew up. Chapter 863. Chapter 863 Ouyang Lun returns Shua. Ning Yu stomped on the ground and rushed out. Pa. He raised his right hand and firmly grabbed the elixir in his hand. Good fortune elixir. Mid-grade good fortune elixir. Looking at the mid-grade good fortune elixir in his hand, Ning Yu revealed a look of disbelief. Originally, Ning Yu thought that he could only refine a low-grade good fortune elixir. He did not expect to refine a mid-grade good fortune elixir at the last moment. A mid-grade good fortune elixir should be able to cure Lu Wei's mother's injuries. Ning Yu did not dare to stay here any longer. He hurriedly put away the elixir furnace and rushed to Lu Wei's side. Poochie. At the same time, in the area where Lu Wei was, Dong He, Mu Feng, and the others spurted out a mouthful of blood. Among them, Dong He's cultivation was the highest, so his injuries were the heaviest. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Mu Feng asked in a low voice, "Senior Dong, is there no other way? In the current situation, we can only pray that Ning Yu can rush back with the good fortune elixir in 10 minutes. Otherwise, she will die." In order not to worry Lu Wei, Dong He sent a soul message to Mu Feng. Although Dong He did not know that Lu Wei had an extreme yin body, he could guess something from Ning Yu's reaction. 10 minutes. Mu Feng frowned, his heart was filled with despair. If Ning Yu could refine the good fortune elixir, he would have done it long ago. He would not have waited until now. 10 minutes might be the last time Lu Wei's mother could live in this world. This is a conservative estimate. Dong he did not want to hurt Mu Feng, but he had to tell him the truth. If the situation continues to worsen, she will most likely die in 3 minutes. Hiss. Hearing this, Mu Feng sucked in a breath of cold air. Ning, you might not even be able to rush back in 10 minutes, let alone 3. At this moment, Mu Feng and the others shook their heads, their faces filled with disappointment. Don't worry, I will do my best to suppress her internal injuries. Dong he pondered for a moment before he gritted his teeth and said, if I risk my life, I should be able to suppress it for another 2 minutes. Sigh, 2 minutes is practically useless, Mu Feng said with a sigh. Shio. Suddenly, a figure tore through the void and gradually appeared in everyone's field of vision. Ningyu. Lu Wei, who was beside the stone bed, hurriedly stood up and exclaimed in surprise. Senior Dong, this is a mid-grade good fortune pill. Please help Auntie consume it. Seeing the joy on Lu Wei's face, Ningyu hurriedly threw the life creation pill to Dong He and said loudly, the rest of you, leave with me. Before Auntie recovers, no one is allowed to disturb Senior Dong. Pa. After saying this solemn sentence, Ningyu grabbed Lu Wei's right arm and flew into the distance. Ningyu, will my mother definitely recover? With her arm grabbed by Ningyu, Lu Wei calmed down and asked. Don't worry, with the life creation pill and Senior Dong's strength, Auntie will definitely recover to her peak state. In order not to worry Lu Wei, Ningyu said, you should be able to see Auntie early tomorrow morning. Well, thank you, Lu Wei said. It's fine. I promised to help you refine the life creation pill. I can't go back on my word. Ningyu waved his hand and said with a faint smile, rest well later. I will bring you to see Auntie early tomorrow morning. How unkind. You have a wife and forgot about us. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor pursed his lips and said sourly, Red Skin, tell me honestly. How many royal grade origin crystals did Ningyu extort from that blood puppet patriarch? Recently, I lack royal grade origin crystals. I can ask for a few million to make do. Hearing the Dark Emperor's words, the Red Devil's face darkened. Insatiable greed. This was the best way to describe the Dark Emperor. Damn it, Ningyu only extorted a total of 3 million royal grade origin crystals. If I give them all to you, what should we do? You should know that you are at the early stage creation realm while I am only at the peak of yin-yang realm. Red Skin, you can't fight with me. Seeing that the Red Devil was silent, the Dark Emperor continued, you went out with Ningyu and must have eaten a lot of meat. I have to drink some of the soup, right? At the side, Duan Cheng's mouth twitched a few times. Ate a lot of meat. He was almost blasted to smithereens by Hang Shu. After fighting with the blood puppet patriarch and the other freaks, Duan Cheng finally understood that his strength was the weakest among this group of people. Perhaps, he was just a little stronger than that white puppy on the Dark Emperor's shoulder. Woof. However, just as this thought appeared in Duan Cheng's mind, Furball turned around and barked at him. Pest. For some reason, Duan Cheng almost lost his footing and fell to the ground when Furball barked like that. I. If the Red Devil's face was filled with black lines just now, then Duan Cheng's entire body was filled with black lines now. The white puppy that he originally thought to be the weakest actually had such heaven-defying strength. Just a gaze and a roar made him feel uncomfortable all over, as if he was seen through. What kind of freaks are the people and dogs around Ningyu? Duan Cheng secretly made up his mind that he would never provoke Ningyu in the future no matter what. He did not know that the people around Ningyu were strong, and he could still provoke Ningyu. However, after knowing that everyone around Ningyu was a powerhouse, he would still foolishly provoke Ningyu. That was not having a backbone, but idiocy. Oh right, how did Ningyu refine the life creation pill? And it's a middle grade one. Duan Cheng frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. He could not understand how Ningyu's peak rank 6 soul strength could refine a middle grade life creation pill. Could it be that Ningyu is pretending to be weak? His soul strength is rank 8. Duan Cheng seemed to have thought of something, but he could not grasp it. Subsequently, Duan Cheng shook his head and threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. He quickly followed Ningyu and the rest out of the pill cavern. After leaving the pill cavern, Ning Yu did not go too far away. Instead, he found a room closest to the pill cavern and stayed there. As for Mu Feng, he quickly left the forbidden area because there were still many things he needed to solve in Danwu College. Creak. In the room, Ning Yu sat upright on a chair. The worry on his face had lessened a little. As long as the life creation pill could cure Lu Wei's mother, Lu Wei's emotions would not be affected too much, and the extreme yin body would not break out prematurely. I have to find a way to completely solve the hidden danger of the extreme yin body. Ning Yu looked at Lu Wei on the other side and said with a slightly solemn expression. Bang! However, just as Ning Yu finished his sentence, the door was suddenly pushed open before his butt could even warm up. Dean Mu? What's going on? Ning Yu stood up from the chair and asked hurriedly. Ning Yu, Ouyang Lun is back. He said he has something urgent to see you. Chapter 864. The situation is critical. Ouyang Lun. Hearing this, Ning Yu was slightly startled at first, and then his expression changed drastically. Back when he left the capital, he gave Ouyang Lun the task of going to Tianxian City to protect Ning Yu. Now that Ouyang Lun had returned to the capital, didn't that mean that the Ning family was in danger? Dean Mu, bring me to Ouyang Lun. Thinking of this, Ning Yu's face turned completely gloomy. He lifted his leg and left the room. As Ning Yu left, the Dark Emperor and Furball naturally followed closely behind. As for Lu Wei, after pondering for a moment, she chose to follow. After all, her mother would only recover the next morning. Rather than waiting here now, she might as well follow Ning Yu to take a look. It's over, it's over, it's over, it's really over this time. In the conference hall of Danwu College, Ouyang Lun was pacing back and forth in panic. If this trip to Tianxian City could be described with one word, it would be a failure. If there was only one word to describe it, it would be a complete failure. He was a middle-stage creation realm martial artist. The other party's late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist actually defeated him in one move. Moreover, it was the kind of defeat without any suspense. Ouyang Lun still had a lingering fear when he recalled what had happened in Tianxian City. Bang! Right at this moment, Ning Yu kicked open the door to the assembly hall and said in a low voice, Ouyang Lun, what the hell is going on? Ning Yu. Seeing Ning Yu's gloomy expression, Ouyang Lun's heart skipped a beat, but he still answered honestly, the Ning family in Tianxian City has been controlled by someone. Tell me exactly what happened. If you leave out any detail, you should know the consequences, Ning Yu said. When I went to Tianxian City a few days ago, the Ning family hadn't been controlled yet. Ouyang Lun didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly explained, I even helped the Ning family's grand elder, Ning Tang, as well as the Ning family's ancestor, Ning He, to improve their cultivations, allowing them to all advance to the Origin Dan realm. I also helped the Ning family's peerless geniuses of the younger generation, Ning Xian, Ning Hu, and Ning Xin, to improve their cultivations, allowing them to all advance to the true martial realm. However, good times don't last. 3 days ago, a mysterious force suddenly entered the Ning family. I will definitely resist. However, the mysterious faction is very powerful. One of them, a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist, defeated me in one move. A late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist defeated you in one move? Hearing this, Ning Yu slightly frowned and asked, do you know the identity of the mysterious force? Is it the Blood God Palace or the Corpse Sect? It's not the Blood God Palace or the Corpse Sect. Ouyang Lun shook his head and said, if it's the Corpse Sect or the Blood God Palace, they will most likely start a massacre in Tianxian City. Even I won't be spared. That makes sense. Mu Feng, who was next to him, said. Also, I can clearly feel that the mysterious force seems to be looking for something in the Ning family, Ouyang Lun continued. Looking for something in the Ning family? Ning Yu slightly frowned and had a faint guess in his heart. It's not the Blood God Palace, not the Corpse Sect, and they are looking for something in Ning Yu, so they didn't start a massacre. All the signs indicated that the mysterious force is very likely to be from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. In other words, they are from the Ice Domain, the same force as Du Feng and Wn Quan. You've provoked me. Ning Yu clenched his fists, and his face was very ugly. Whether it's the Supreme Nine Purities Temple or the people from the ice domain, since they have provoked him, then Ningyu must take care of it. This matter needs to be considered at length. I can't be reckless. Ningyu wanted to return to the Ning family as soon as possible, but he knew that there were still many things to do in the capital. It would not be good to leave without finishing them. First of all, Ningyu learned from the half-step supremacy Dan Kai that he met in the pill cave that he mobilized 10 puppet warriors. Once 10 puppet warriors of the half-step supremacy realm descended on the Great Xia Kingdom, it would be a disaster for the Great Xia Kingdom. Although the Dan puppet, whose cultivation hadn't reached the supremacy realm, couldn't leave the pill cave, Ningyu had also heard from the Dan puppet about the young master. As the young master, he probably had a way to let the puppet warriors leave the pill cave. In addition to the threat from Dan Kai, there was also the threat from the blood puppet ancestor. There was even the threat from the corpse sect's venerable corpse dragon. All kinds of things appeared in Ningyu's mind at the same time, causing Ningyu's head to explode with pain. Ouyang Lun, go back to the Imperial Palace and make some preparations. We will set off for Tianqian City tomorrow. Hearing this, Ouyang Lun's body trembled. His figure flickered and he left the conference hall. After Ouyang Lun left, Ningyu waved his hand and said, Dean Mu, you go ahead. I want to be alone. Then. All right. Mu Feng originally wanted to say something, but after seeing Ningyu's expression, he could only leave the conference hall. Ningyu didn't speak, and the Dark Emperor and the others didn't want to disturb him, so they found a place to rest. As for Lu Wei, she wanted to comfort Ningyu several times, but she resisted. Drip. Drip. Time passed by minute. In the blink of an eye, a night passed. When the first ray of sunlight shone into the conference hall, Ningyu stood up and said in a deep voice, To the Pill Cavern. Hearing that they were going to the Pill Cavern, Lu Wei was very excited and hurriedly followed behind Ningyu. Phew. At the same time, inside the Pill Cavern, looking at the recovered woman on the stone bed, Dong He wiped the sweat off his forehead and let out a long sigh. Luckily, I managed to save her. After a night of treatment and the magical effects of the elixir of rebirth, Dong He managed to pull Lu Wei's mother back from the brink of death. Rustle. At this moment, a few figures flew over from afar. Senior Dong, thank you. Seeing that the woman on the stone bed had woken up, Ningyu hurriedly thanked Dong He. Hehe, it's nothing, Dong He said with a smile. Senior Dong, let's talk over here. Seeing that Lu Wei was sprawled on the bed, Ningyu gave Hong Mo a look before flying straight into the depths of the Pill Cavern. Although Ningyu's actions puzzled Dong He still followed behind Ningyu and disappeared. As for Hong Mo, he naturally knew what Ningyu meant. He could not let Lu Wei get too emotional. If Lu Wei got too emotional, the consequences would be dire. Ningyu, why did you call me over? Dong He asked curiously in the depths of the Pill Cavern. Dong He did not understand why Ningyu called him over. Generally speaking, if there was anything, he could just talk it over there and there was no need for him to come here. Senior Dong, I'm sure you've heard of pill puppets. Ningyu went straight to the point. Many pill puppets have appeared in this pill cavern. In fact, I've even killed a half-step supremacy pill puppet some time ago. Chapter 865. Mystic Moon Jade Pendant Hiss. Dong He gasped. Dong He sucked in a breath of cold air. As a senior member of the Alchemy Union and a first-grade human supreme, Dong He had naturally heard of the pill puppet. Not only had Dong He heard of the pill cavern, but he had also fought with it before. The pill puppet that Dong He had fought with was a half-step supreme martial artist puppet. However, Dong He was only a half-step supreme martial artist at that time. He had to use a lot of effort to kill that puppet warrior. Now that he had advanced to a first-grade human supreme, he could easily kill the puppet warrior if he encountered it again. The only thing that shocked Dong He was the so-called young master. Among the pill puppets, those who could be called young master were at least first-grade human supreme. Senior Dong, I would like you to oversee the Danwu College and this pill cavern during this period. Ningyu voiced out his thoughts and said, once the puppet warriors attack, I hope you can help us. Leave this matter to me. Dong He said without thinking, in a few days, a few of my old friends will come to the capital. At that time, with the few of us guarding here together, I believe that even the young master of the Elixir Palace won't be able to gain any advantage. Also, Ningyu continued, other than the threat from the pill puppet, there's also the blood puppet ancestor. Don't worry, the blood puppet ancestor won't be able to cause too much trouble. Dong he waved his hand. Leave these two matters to me. Alright, I'll leave it to you, senior. Ningyu had wanted to mention the venerable corpse dragon, but seeing Dong his confident look, he felt that it was better not to mention it. Anyway, he had already destroyed the corpses. It would be difficult for the venerable corpse dragon to find him through the dilapidated hall. Oh, right, what do you want to do? Dong he thought about it. He felt that Ningyu would not speak without thinking. Since he was begging him so seriously, there was most likely a reason. I'll be leaving the capital later and heading to Tianqian City. Ningyu didn't want to hide it from Dong he at all. He said honestly, and, it's not good. However, before Ningyu could finish his sentence, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly flew in the direction of Lu Wei. Just now, the Red Fiend sent back a message saying that Lu Wei's emotions had changed slightly. Lu Wei had an extreme yin body, and her mood swings were extremely unpredictable. If she was not careful, she would completely explode. The consequences of the eruption of the extreme yin body were unimaginable. Therefore, Ningyu had no time to bid farewell to Donghe and directly flew out. What's going on? Before Ningyu arrived, his voice came first. It's fine now. Everything has returned to normal. The Red Fiend came forward and said hurriedly, "Tell me the truth." Ningyu transmitted his voice to the Red Fiend. Just now, Lu Wei's mother coughed twice and her face was even a little pale. Fortunately, Dan Xingzi pointed out in time that it was a normal reaction. Otherwise, Lu Wei. The Red Fiend didn't finish the last few words, but the meaning was self-evident. No, I have to bring Lu Wei away. After a moment of silence, Ningyu made this decision. The regeneration pill wasn't simple. In the next few days, Lu Wei's mother would cough, her face would turn pale, and she would even suffocate temporarily. If Lu Wei saw all of this, what would happen? Lu Wei's small heart definitely wouldn't be able to take it. Therefore, Ningyu decided to bring Lu Wei with him so that it would be convenient for him to use a secret technique to suppress Lu Wei when she exploded. Cough cough, this is Ningyu, right? Jinna told me everything. This time, it's all thanks to you. On the stone bed, Li Qiaoyun coughed twice and said to Ningyu, if not for the regeneration pill that you refined, I might not have been able to wake up. Also, this should be Senior Dong. As she spoke, Li Qiaoyun shifted her gaze to Dong He, who was beside Ningyu, and said, "You've done me a great favor." What great favor? It's nothing. Dong He interrupted Li Qiaoyun and said. The reason why Dong He interrupted Li Qiaoyun's words was obvious. Don't talk to me about great favor, I didn't treat you for benefits. Lu Wei, I'm going to Tianqian City later. Why don't you come with me? Seeing that Li Qiaoyun might have misunderstood, Ningyu quickly changed the topic and said, No, I want to stay in the capital to accompany my mother. Without a doubt, Lu Wei rejected Ningyu. Jin'er, I've recovered. You can follow Ningyu to Tianqian City, Li Qiaoyun said. Mother, but I want to spend more time with you. Lu Wei laid on the stone bed and said. Why do you want to accompany me? Aren't I all better now? Li Qiaoyun continued, I want to be alone. All of you can leave. Ningyu didn't expect Li Qiaoyun to help him so much. Could it be that Li Qiaoyun knew Lu Wei's true identity? Jin'er, since your mother said so, she naturally has her reasons. At this moment, Lu Durong said in a deep voice, Don't tell me you don't even listen to your mother. All right. Lu Wei felt a little upset. After all, this was the first time Lu Durong got angry at her. Ningyu, come with me. I have something to tell you. Lu Durong glanced at Ningyu and then walked straight into the distance. Ningyu followed behind Lu Durong. After stopping, Lu Durong handed Ningyu a purple jade pendant and said, 18 years ago, Jin'er appeared in my room out of nowhere. This jade pendant was with Jin'er at that time. This jade pendant, receiving the blue jade pendant, Ningyu's body trembled. Because Ningyu knew what this jade pendant was. It was the Mystic Moon Jade Pendant. The Mystic Moon Jade Pendant had a very big effect, which was to suppress the extreme yin body and prevent it from exploding. Of course, there were a total of 2 Mystic Moon Jade Pendants. One Mystic Moon Jade Pendant couldn't completely suppress the extreme yin body and could only suppress it for a dozen years. Although Ningyu didn't know when Lu Durong removed the Mystic Moon Jade Pendant from Lu Wei, Ningyu was sure that it wasn't too long ago. Otherwise, Lu Wei would have already exploded. You might need to investigate Jin Er's background. However, I hope that Jin Er can live a peaceful life in the future. Lu Durong sighed and said, I will take good care of Lu Wei. Although Ningyu didn't mention it, he felt a little helpless in his heart. An extreme yin body wants to live a peaceful life. It's harder than ascending to the heavens. You guys leave. I will persuade Jin Er to leave with you as soon as possible. Lu Durong continued. If that's the case, thank you, Uncle Lu. Ningyu bowed deeply towards Lu Durong before tearing through the void and leaving the pill cavern. Before leaving, Ningyu had already informed the Dark Emperor and the others through spiritual transmission. In fact, Ningyu even informed Donghe. The Dark Emperor and the Red Devils wouldn't choose to stay in the capital. They tore through the void and disappeared behind Ningyu. Master. Seeing the Dark Emperor and the Red Devils leave, Duan Cheng bit his lips and said hesitantly, Go. You can learn a lot by following Ningyu. Donghe knew what Duan Cheng was thinking. He didn't urge him to stay. After all, everyone had their own judgment. Chapter 866. Too Young. Russell. Danwu College's conference hall. Many people had already gathered in the conference hall. Among them, the Black Widow, the Black and White Heroes, Old Ancestor Ju Mo, and Mu Feng sat on one side. Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, the Red Devil, and Duan Cheng sat on the other side. If there's anything you need during this trip to Tianqian City, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to satisfy you. Mu Feng said after a moment of silence. Ningyu had done so many things for Danwu College. If Ningyu needed anything, Mu Feng would definitely agree to it without hesitation. If there's a need, there's nothing. We'll set off immediately after Lu Wei arrives. After saying this, Ningyu thought for a moment and continued, The only thing I need to do is to arrange a quiet place for Pavilion Master Lu and the others to stay and ensure that no one will disturb them. It's a small matter. I'll arrange it as soon as possible, Mu Feng said. Swish. At this moment, a figure streaked across the void and appeared in front of the conference hall. It was none other than Lu Wei. Lu Wei's eyes were slightly red, and she looked pitiful. Dean Mu, we'll take our leave for now. Seeing Lu Wei coming over, Ningyu stood up and bid farewell to Mu Feng before leaving the conference hall. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, Furball, the Red Devil, Duan Cheng, Ouyang Lun, and even the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast followed closely behind. Initially, Ningyu wanted the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast to stay in the capital. However, since they were unwilling, Ningyu could only give up. Dean Mu, did something happen in Tianqian City? Why did Ningyu mobilize so many people? Looking at Ningyu's departing figure, Ancestor Ju Mo asked doubtfully, Moreover, I don't understand why Ningyu brought Lu Wei along. After all, Lu Wei's cultivation is very low. A mysterious force came to Tianqian City and took control of the Ning family, Mu Feng explained. As for why Ningyu brought Lu Wei with him, I don't know either. All right. Forefather Ju Mo sighed and fell silent. Shio. In a dense forest somewhere, a group of martial artists was advancing quickly. I really don't understand. There's such a good path to take, why do you have to take this godforsaken place? Among the martial artists, a large black dog complained in the human language. Don't talk too much. Beside the large black dog, a thin martial artist said in a low voice, Do you think I don't want to walk the open road? Do you really have to come to this place? Isn't that so? The Dark Emperor muttered. Screw you. The thin martial artist was Ningyu. He kicked the Dark Emperor's buttocks and said angrily, When we left the capital, there were at least 10 groups of people following us. If we didn't take a detour, do you think we could get rid of them? Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun were shocked when they heard Ningyu's words. Along the way, they were puzzled as to why Ningyu had to take a detour. Now, it seemed that it was because their perception was weak and they couldn't detect the people following them. If we can't get rid of them, then we won't. With our strength, even if the people following us are peak manifestation realm martial artists, we can still kill them, the Dark Emperor said proudly as if he was not afraid of anything. Is that so? However, as soon as the Dark Emperor's arrogant words fell, a faint voice came from the void. Crack. Then, the void cracked, and a group of 4 martial artists appeared. Hiss. Seeing the 4 martial artists that suddenly appeared, Ouyang Lun and Duan Cheng's expressions changed and they gasped. It wasn't that Ouyang Lun and Duan Cheng were timid, but the cultivation of the 4 martial artists in front of them was simply too high. Half-step supremacy realm. 4 half-step supremacy realm martial artist. Although Duan Cheng knew that Ningyu was very powerful, and he had also seen Ningyu kill Shu Bo, who was infinitely close to the half-step supreme being realm, and capture Hang Shu alive, the cultivator in front of him was a half-step supreme being. Moreover, they were 4 half-step supremacies. How could Ningyu fight against such a lineup? I still haven't gotten rid of you. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn as he said in a deep voice, "Speak, why are you following us?" "Why?" One of the half-step supremacy realm martial artists with squinted eyes smirked and said, "Shu Shun, Hu Lei, you should have heard of them. I know, you are from the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion." Ningyu instantly reacted. Shu Shun and Hu Lei were peerless geniuses from the 7th and 8th branches of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Moreover, they had both died at his hands. It was just that Ningyu was a little puzzled. At that time, he had repeatedly confirmed that Shu Shun and Hu Lei hadn't spread the news. How did these 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion geniuses know that he was the one who did it? Curious. Seeing Ningyu's expression, the squinted martial artist gloomily said, "The influence of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion is not something you can imagine. Let me tell you the truth, in the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, the 7th, 8th, and 9th branches have already issued a 9 Cauldrons hunting order. As long as a genius of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion runs into you, they will kill you without mercy. Since that's the case, I have nothing else to say." Ningyu slowly spat out a breath of turbid air. He lightly said, "Then let's fight." Wung wung. As Ningyu's words fell, the entire area seemed to come to a standstill. The atmosphere was stifling, as if a great battle was about to break out at any moment. "Ningyu, they are all half-step supremes. Do you really want to clash with them?" Duan Cheng was a little afraid. He wanted to ask if there was any chance of a turnaround. "I killed the half-step supremes of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion's 7th, 8th, and 9th branches. Do you think there's any chance of a turnaround?" Ningyu said as he glanced at Duan Cheng. "All right, it looks like we can only fight." Duan Cheng helplessly said. "Wrong." The squinted martial artist stretched out his right hand and coldly said, "In truth, there is still a chance of a turnaround. It just depends on whether or not you are willing to cooperate." "What's the matching method?" Ningyu asked while adjusting his state. The 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion has always taken the responsibility of recruiting geniuses. As long as you relax your mind and let me control you, then the others can live. The squinted martial artist wanted to sow dissension and disintegrate the relationship between Ningyu and Duan Cheng from the inside. "Haha, this move of yours has no effect on me." Ningyu faintly smiled and said, "Don't take everyone for fools. The reason you didn't attack immediately was because you were afraid of me. You were afraid that I had the strength to kill all of you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sent 4 half-step supreme beings to encircle and kill me. You know very well that since I was able to kill Shu Shun, Hu Lei, and Jiu Yuan, I have the ability to kill any one of you." After listening to Ningyu's story, Duan Cheng felt a little ashamed. The squinted martial artist's attempt to sow dissension had indeed had some effect. If it weren't for Ningyu promptly mentioning the squinted martial artist scheme, Duan Cheng might have even opened his mouth to persuade Ningyu. Chapter 867. Opinionated. Pa. 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 Hearing Ningyu's words, The squinted martial artist clapped his hands and smiled. I admit that what you said is the truth, but so what? What can it change? We have 4 half-step supremes on our side. What do you have to fight with us? Song Gongwei, why are you wasting your breath on them? A mere half-step manifestation realm martial artist, I don't believe he can do anything. Zhu Gongxiong raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully. Zhu Gongxiong, don't say that. Ning, you can even kill Shu Shun and the others. It's best to be careful when dealing with him. Lei Zhuang was still a little afraid of Ning Yu's strength. Haha, Lei Zhuang, I don't agree with you. The last 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion half-step supremes, Chang Da, smiled and said, I think Zhu Gongxiong is right. Shu Shun and the others were killed because they were careless. If it were us, we definitely wouldn't have been killed. Don't say any more. The 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion is a gathering place for geniuses, not an assassin's nest. We need to discuss this properly and not use force to solve it. Song Gongwei waved his hand and lightly said, Ningyu, I'll give you one last chance. Open your mind and let me inject a wisp of my soul force into your sea of consciousness. Otherwise, I'll let you know what cruelty is. Ningyu had been listening to Song Gongwei and the others' conversation. After a while, Ningyu said, Are you done? Not yet, I still want to continue. Song Gongwei acted as if he didn't understand Ningyu's words and continued. Continue, my ass. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. His figure shot out and rushed towards Song Gongwei. At the same time, Ningyu shouted at Duan Cheng and the others, You guys take Lu Wei and leave first. I'll stop them. Sure. Duan Cheng and the others didn't dare to be negligent. Hearing Ningyu's words, they immediately left with Lu Wei. Including Lu Wei, a total of 5 martial artists left. Duan Cheng, Ouyang Lun, the silver-winged dragon, and the twin horns beast. The 4 of them didn't have much combat power. Staying behind would only add to the chaos, and it was impossible for them to be of any use. You want to leave? Seeing that Lu Wei and the others were about to leave, Lei Zhuang and Chang Da's lips curled up slightly as they laughed sinisterly in unison. It's not that easy. Hehe, you 2 stay behind to deal with the others. Leave those 5 pieces of trash to me. A lewd smile appeared on Zhu Gangxiong's face as he said loudly, I just happen to be lacking a cauldron. In my opinion, using that woman as a cauldron is the best. Ha ha ha, since Gangxiong is so refined, we won't interfere. We'll give them to you. Lei Zhuang and Chang Da laughed and joined the other side of the battlefield. As for Zhu Gongxiong, he smiled lecherously as he chased after Lu Wei and the others. Dark Emperor, Furball, help me stop them. I'll be right back. Although Ningyu was fighting with Song Gongwei, he was constantly paying attention to the situation of Lu Wei and the others. Especially when he saw Zhu Gongxiong chase after Lu Wei, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. He quickly forced Song Gongwei away and tore through the void to disappear. Where are you going? Song Gongwei's eyes shone with a cold light. He clenched his fists and suddenly shot out 2 cold rays. Kai kai. The cold rays were very fast, and each ray cut through the void and made a hissing sound. On the other hand, Ningyu didn't even turn his head. It was as if he didn't notice the fist rays coming from behind him. I really don't know how you killed Jiyu Yuan. How could you be so stupid? What? Song Gongwei seemed to see Ningyu's miserable state after being hit by the fist rays, and his lips involuntarily curled up. However, halfway through his sentence, Song Gongwei's eyes widened, and his face filled with disbelief. Boom. Boom. This was because Song Gongwei saw 2 figures, one black and one white, quickly cut through the void and blocked the 2 fatal fist rays for Ningyu. Damn it. Song Gongwei's expression turned ugly when his fist rays were blocked. Especially when the ones who blocked the fist rays were not martial artists, but 2 dogs. Song Gongwei couldn't take it anymore. The 2 of you, don't make a move first. Leave these 2 dogs to me. Seeing that Lei Zhuang and Chang Da were about to make a move, Song Gongwei said in a deep voice, I want to see what these 2 mad dogs are capable of. As soon as he said the word patience, Song Gongwei shot out explosively. His target was the Dark Emperor and Furball. Lei Zhuang and Chang Da were happy to be idle. They crossed their arms in front of their chests and shifted their gazes to the other side of the battlefield. On the other side, Ningyu was already fighting with Zhu Gongxiong. Ningyu, others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Zhu Gongxiong's lips curled up as he said coldly, today, I will carry out justice on behalf of the heavens and thoroughly kill you. Why do you speak so much nonsense? How can you say things like carrying out justice on behalf of the heavens? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? Ningyu wielded the red demon sword and slashed out a sword wave. Whoosh! A sword wave as thick as a waist shot out in midair and instantly arrived in front of Zhu Gongxiong. Insignificant skill. Facing the sword wave that was constantly attacking him, Zhu Gongxiong waved his sleeves, and a cold radiance instantly flew out. Boom! The cold radiance and the sword wave clashed, creating a loud rumble. After the rumble, Zhu Gongxiong floated in midair, slightly stunned. Zhu Gongxiong discovered that Ningyu had mysteriously disappeared. Trying to hide in front of me? Bitch, come out. Zhu Gongxiong's entire body released his aura, which continuously spread in all directions with him as the center. Crack crack. Zhu Gongxiong was a half-step supremacy martial artist, and his aura was very terrifying. The aura that spread in all directions snapped countless towering trees in half. Zhu Gongxiong's aura continuously increased, but he still did not discover any traces of Ningyu. Not even a shadow could be seen. Where did he go? Zhu Gongxiong was not a fool. He knew that if this continued, it would be very disadvantageous for him. After withdrawing his aura, Zhu Gongxiong frowned slightly and started to use his perception. The perception of a half-step supremacy was still very powerful. So, he was hiding here. Zhu Gongxiong had just used his perception when he found Ningyu's location. 5 meters to the west. After discovering Ningyu's location, Zhu Gongxiong said without batting an eyelid. Ningyu, don't think that I can't find you just because you are hiding well. To tell you the truth, there has never been a half-step manifestation martial artist who could hide from my perception. As Zhu Gongxiong spoke, he walked in the east direction. Zhu Gongxiong's goal was very clear, to make Ningyu careless and lower his guard. 3 more steps. After 3 steps, I will suddenly turn around and attack. Zhu Gongxiong moved his feet, secretly counting the number of steps he took. First step. Zhu Gongxiong's expression did not change at all, and he still looked as calm as before. Second step. Zhu Gongxiong's expression started to change slightly, but he controlled it very well. Third step. Chapter 868. Chapter 868, Divine Might Puff. However, before Zhu Gongxiong could move for long, he heard the sound of a flying sword piercing into his body. Zhu Gongxiong first looked at the blood-red flying sword in front of his chest. Then, he raised his head to look at the familiar figure in front of him. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, his body fell backwards. Hong Mo, get rid of him as soon as possible. Ningyu's tone was emotionless as he said indifferently, Kai. After receiving Ningyu's order, the Hong Mo immediately controlled the red demon sword to unleash a violent devouring power. In the blink of an eye, Zhu Gongxiong was completely devoured. Seeing that the Hong Mo had devoured Zhu Gongxiong, Ningyu's figure flashed, and he instantly appeared beside the Dark Emperor and Furball. Because Ningyu had acted quickly, it only took him a few minutes to kill and devour Zhu Gongxiong. Thus, the Dark Emperor and Furball were only heavily injured and not killed. Even so, Ningyu's expression was very ugly. Ningyu, why are you only here now? The Dark Emperor used his trump card to repel Song Gongwei and complained, this bastard is very strong. Furball and I are not his match. Go and recuperate first. Leave the rest to me. Ningyu casually threw a storage bag to the Dark Emperor and said. The Dark Emperor caught the storage bag, and after checking the number of crystals inside, he nodded in satisfaction and flew to the other side to recuperate. As for Furball, Ningyu did not hold back either. The storage bag filled with 1 million royal grade origin crystals was taken away by Furball. What's going on? Zhu Gongxiong. What? The sudden change made Song Gongwei and the others a little dumbfounded. Wasn't Ningyu fighting with Zhu Gongxiong? Why did Ningyu come so quickly? One had to know that Zhu Gongxiong was a half-step supreme being. No matter how weak he was, he should be able to block Ningyu for half an hour or so. However, when Song Gongwei saw a skeleton in the distance, his voice stopped abruptly and he sucked in a breath of cold air. Zhu Gangxiong turned into a skeleton. This discovery gave Song Gongwei a surreal feeling. Song Gongwei could not understand why Zhu Gongxiong, who was in the half-step supremacy realm, would be devoured until only a skeleton remained. It was hard to understand. Gulp. Even Song Gongwei was shocked. One could imagine how Lei Zhuang and Chang Die were feeling. Zhu Gongxiong's fighting strength was ranked second amongst the four of them. Ningyu had killed Zhu Gangxiong so easily. If he wanted to kill them, wouldn't it be as easy as killing an ant? Don't panic. The reason why Ningyu was able to kill Zhu Gongxiong is because he used all his trump cards. Seeing Lei Zhuang and Chang Die panic, Song Gongwei said in a low voice, "According to my observations, Ningyu doesn't have much origin energy left. As long as the three of us attack together, killing him will be as easy as blowing off dust. Song Gongwei, you're the strongest. You go first, we'll bring up the rear." Lei Zhuang knew what Song Gongwei was planning. Zhu Gongxiong and Song Gongwei were members of the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion's 7th branch, while he and Chang Die were from the 8th branch. In the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion, every branch cherished their high-end fighting strength. Every time they lost a half-step supremacy realm martial artist, they would feel the pain for a long time. Now, Song Gongwei's actions were clearly to make them his pawns and send them to their deaths. Damn it! Song Gongwei cursed inwardly. His feet stepped on the ground and his body instantly shot forward. At the same time, Song Gongwei shouted out, "All of you go chase after those people that escaped. Everyone related to Ningyu, do not let a single one of them go." This is great. Lei Zhuang and Chang Die were overjoyed. They rushed out. Their targets were Lu Wei and Duan Cheng. Solitaire. How could Ningyu allow Lei Zhuang and Chang Die to leave? Although Lu Wei and the others had left a long time ago, with Lei Zhuang and Chang Die's speed, they could catch up in a dozen or so minutes. Once Lu Wei was caught, the consequences would be inconceivable. Thus, Ningyu flicked his wrist, sending out several sword waves. Whoosh! In the air, countless sword waves flew out. Half of them attacked Lei Zhuang and Chang Die, while the other half surrounded Song Gongwei. "You want to rely on these sword waves to trap me? How could it be so easy?" Song Gongwei's eyes gradually turned blood red. The origin energy in his spiritual sea crazily poured into his wrist as he punched the sword waves in front of him. Bang! Song Gongwei was truly worthy of being a peerless genius of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion. He used all his strength to disperse the sword wave around him effortlessly. Of course, Song Gongwei's fistlight was also completely offset by the sword waves. If Song Gongwei could block the sword waves, then Lei Zhuang and Chang Die could also block them if they joined forces. "Song Gongwei, didn't you say you wanted to stop Ningyu? What the hell is going on?" Although he blocked the sword waves, Lei Zhuang and Chang Die still shouted, "If you don't use your full strength to deal with Ningyu, everyone will die." "You're right, you will all die." Lei Zhuang and Chang Die had just finished speaking when a faint voice was transmitted into their ears. Hearing this, Lei Zhuang and Chang Die were startled. Then, they revealed looks of horror. Go! Ningyu didn't care about Lei Zhuang and Chang Die's reactions. He naturally wouldn't miss out on such a rare opportunity. With a low shout, Ningyu flicked his sleeves. A cold light suddenly flew out from his sleeves. Flower bud. The cold light that flew out from Ningyu's sleeves was the flower bud. For some reason, when Ningyu killed Zhu Gongxiong, the flower bud didn't have the slightest reaction. But just now, the flower bud suddenly erupted with an extremely strong desire to leave Ningyu's body. If not for Ningyu suppressing it, the flower bud's first target would definitely be Song Gongwei. Lei Zhuang and Chang Die were two people. If they wanted to escape, Ningyu couldn't chase after them. Thus, Ningyu chose to let the flower bud deal with Lei Zhuang and Chang Die first. Poochie. The flower bud didn't disappoint Ningyu. Lei Zhuang and Chang Die didn't even have time to scream before they turned into nothingness. Wong wong. The flower bud originally had 6 petals. After swallowing Lei Zhuang and Chang Die, it seemed like it was going to have 5 petals. There's another one over there. Ning Yu pointed at Song Gongwei on the other side and said. Hearing this, Song Gongwei's mouth twitched a few times. What the F***ck is going on? How could a flower bud on a small branch possess such terrifying combat power? Killing a half-step honorable realm martial artist was as easy as chopping vegetables. This was truly effortless. Run. At this moment, there was only one word in Song Gongwei's mind, and that was to run. Song Gongwei didn't have the confidence to go against such a powerful flower bud. In fact, Song Gongwei didn't even have the confidence to last a minute against the flower bud. If he didn't even have the confidence to stay, wouldn't he be courting death? Want to leave? It's not that easy. Flower bud, go. Chapter 869. Besieged. Surrounded. Oh no. Although Song Gongwei was a half-step to honorable realm martial artist and was very fast, the flower bud was faster than him. Song Gongwei had just escaped a dozen meters when his expression changed drastically. He hurriedly wrapped the essence chi in his sea of consciousness around his wrist and threw out a shocking fist radiance. Kai Kai. The result was no surprise. Song Gongwei's fist radiance was at an absolute disadvantage in the confrontation with the flower bud, and it was quickly devoured. 3 flower palm. At the critical moment, Song Gongwei forced out a drop of blood essence and waved his hands continuously. Suddenly, a palm print separated from his palm. Swoosh. 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 The so-called 3 flower palm, as the name suggested, had a total of 3 palm prints. Song Gongwei did not disappoint. After the palm print separated from his palm, it split into 3. Song Gongwei was more ambitious. 2 of the palm prints were aimed at the flower bud, while the last one was aimed at Ning Yu. Song Gongwei's thinking was simple. As long as he could block the flower bud and kill Ning Yu, everything would return to normal. Once Ning Yu died, the flower bud would lose its power, and he could even pick up a flower bud for free. Dreams were great, but reality was harsh. Song Gongwei's thinking was great, but reality shattered him. The flower bud quickly cut through the void and devoured the 2 palm prints that Song Gongwei had thrown out in an instant. After devouring the palm prints, the flower bud did not turn its head. Instead, it started fighting Song Gongwei. On the other side, Ning Yu wielded the red demon sword and slashed out several sword radiance. Whoosh! The sword radiance and the palm prints collided. Song Gongwei's palm prints were quickly dispersed. Song Gongwei is indeed skilled. He can actually fight against the flower bud head-on. After dispersing the palm prints, Ning Yu turned around and looked at the battle between Song Gongwei and the flower bud. He frowned slightly. After seeing the flower bud kill Lei Zhuang and Chang Die easily, Ning Yu thought that it could at least fight against a grade 1 human supreme. However, the current situation made Ning Yu slightly disappointed. The flower bud's strongest combat power should be between the half-step supremacy realm and the supremacy realm. Ning Yu, this flower bud is really too awesome. With it, we can even easily kill a supreme being, right? The Dark Emperor quietly came to Ning Yu's side, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and said, "Why don't you listen to me? In the future, use you as bait, and let's do some, get lost." Ning Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said snappily, "Only you can think of such a rotten idea. Hehe, let's talk it over." The Dark Emperor did not get angry after being kicked by Ning Yu. Instead, he chuckled. "We can discuss it." Ning Yu rolled his eyes and said without batting an eyelid, "How about this? You're the purple gold sky devouring hound. As long as we use you as bait, I'm sure many people will come looking for trouble with us. When the flower bud makes its move, won't those troublemakers be devoured by you?" The Dark Emperor was speechless. "After all that, you're using me as bait. I'm the purple gold sky devouring hound. When the time comes, instead of attracting half-step supremacies and first-grade human supremacies, we might attract many second-grade or even third-grade human supremacies." Although the Dark Emperor had high hopes for the flower bud, seeing how it struggled to deal with Song Gongwei, who was a half-step supremacy realm expert, the Dark Emperor did not believe that the flower bud could deal with a second-grade human supremacy, let alone a third-grade human supremacy. Let's not use me as bait. How about using red skin as bait? The Dark Emperor glanced at Hong Mo, who was standing beside Ningyu, and said, red skin is the spiritual body of a royal flying sword. With him as bait, the effect won't be any worse than mine. Scram, I'm giving you face, and you want to go to heaven? Ningyu raised his leg to kick the Dark Emperor, and said, you are a genius, why don't you go to heaven? Don't. We can discuss it. The Dark Emperor easily dodged Ningyu's attack and said loudly, at most, we can use me as bait. Rumble. Just as the Dark Emperor finished his words, the battle on the other side also came to an end. Poochie. The flower bud found an opportunity and used one of its petals to pierce Song Gongwei's heart. Ningyu, you have offended the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Even if you run to the ends of the world, you will still be killed. Before Song Gongwei died, he used all his strength to roar, if you can repent and surrender, you might still be able to live. Poochie. Before Song Gongwei finished his threat, he spat out another mouthful of blood. At this moment, the peerless genius of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Song Gongwei, who was a half-step supremacy, died in battle. Wang. Just like Lei Zhuang and Chang Die, after the flower bud killed Song Gongwei, it directly devoured him and turned him into nothingness. After devouring 3 half-step supremacy realm cultivators, the number of petals on the flower bud finally increased from 6 to 5. Swish. After that, the flower bud turned into an afterimage and went back into Ningyu's sleeve to lie dormant. Luckily, there is a flower bud. Otherwise, we would all be dead. Even now, Hong Mo still had lingering fears. Although he and Ningyu could kill Zhu Gongxiong if they joined forces, killing Song Gongwei would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. This was because even 3 Zhu Gongxiong might not be a match for Song Gongwei. Let's go. Since Song Gongwei and the others had already been killed, there was no need for Ningyu to stay here. Waving his hand, Ningyu was the first to fly into the distance. Red skin, are we not even going to clean up the battlefield? Looking at Ningyu's back, the Dark Emperor hesitated. Clean up my ass. Song Gongwei and the others can find us. Even if we clean up the battlefield and don't leave any traces, the people of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion will know that we killed Song Gongwei. Hong Mo rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor. Then, he stepped on the ground and dashed away. That seems to make a little bit of sense. The Dark Emperor smacked his lips. Then, he grabbed Hairy Ball and chased after Ningyu. Shaw. While Ningyu and the others were rushing forward, not far away, Lu Wei, Duan Cheng, and the others encountered a new problem. At the end of the forest, Duan Cheng, Ouyang Lun, and the others had their backs against each other, forming a semicircle. Lu Wei was in the middle of the semicircle. Her face was slightly pale. Who are you people? Why are you attacking us? Duan Cheng turned around and looked at Lu Wei's pale face. His face turned completely dark. He stared at the dozen martial artists in front of him and said coldly, "Why are we attacking you?" In front of Duan Cheng, there were a total of 18 martial artists. Apart from the leading martial artist, who was at the half-step supremacy realm, the other 17 martial artists were all at the peak of the manifestation realm. Moreover, their attire was a little special. They did not look like people from the Great Xia Empire. They did not even look like people from the Sky Demon region. Why are we attacking you? You should ask the woman behind you about this. Chapter 870. Just for fun. What? Extreme yin body. When Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun heard the words of the half-step Supreme Being Realm Cultivator, their eyes widened with extreme fear. Ouyang Lun, in particular, was extremely shocked. More than 10 years ago, there was an absolute expert who passed by the Great Xia Kingdom. At that time, that peerless expert had described the general appearance of a woman and asked Ouyang Lun to search for her after 10 years. Ouyang Lun kept his word. Some time ago, he had locked onto Lu Wei according to the description of the peerless powerhouse. However, due to Ningyu's various obstructions, the plan was ultimately put on hold. As for the crystal ball that the peerless master had left for Ouyang Lun, Ouyang Lun had always kept it with him and had never mentioned it to Ningyu. How could Ouyang Lun not be shocked when a half-step supremacy realm martial artist said that Lu Wei had an extreme yin body? Shocked, Ouyang Lun took out the crystal ball from his bosom. Sound transmission ball. Ouyang Lun had just taken out the crystal ball when the half-step supremacy realm martial artist's expression changed drastically. He exclaimed in shock, "How could you possibly have the 6 Moons Supremacy's sound transmission ball? 6 Moons Venerable?" Ouyang Lun was slightly taken aback and said, "I don't know who 6 Moons Venerable is." "Humph. You're about to die, yet you still dare to quibble. Since you don't know, I will tell you. Listen carefully." The half-step supreme martial artist said coldly, 6 Moons Venerable is an elder of our Sacred Heaven sect. He was a 6th grade human supreme more than 10 years ago. Hiss. Ouyang Lun could not help but gasp. 6th grade human supreme martial artist. Furthermore, he was a 6th grade human supreme martial artist more than 10 years ago. Didn't that mean that the 6 Moons Venerable's cultivation was at least at the 7th or 8th grade sovereign realm? Hand over the voice transmission ball. Don't make me say the same thing twice. The half-step supremacy realm martial artist stretched out his hand and said calmly. Ouyang Lun's eyes flickered indeterminately. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Do you think I'm a fool? If I give you the voice transmission ball, you'll definitely break it. When 6 Moon Venerable arrives, how are we going to survive?" After much consideration, Ouyang Lun still chose to stand on the same boat as Ningyu. The more Ouyang Lun interacted with Ningyu, the more he felt that Ningyu was terrifying. Ouyang Lun would have definitely chosen Ningyu even without the Heavenly Tao Oath. Good, very good, very good. The half-step supreme being's face darkened completely as he said coldly, "Among all the manifestation realm cultivators that I, Yang Yi, have met, you are one of the more arrogant ones. Maybe you haven't seen me fight before, so you don't know my true strength." Yang Yi pondered for a moment, then continued, "When I was at the peak of the manifestation realm, I fought against a grade 1 human sovereign. When I advanced to the half-step sovereign realm, I encountered a grade 2 human sovereign and 3 grade 1 human sovereigns. Guess what happened? After a fierce battle, the 3 first-grade human supremes all died in battle, and the 2nd-grade human supremes also fled." Poochie. As soon as Yang Yi finished speaking, a peak manifestation realm cultivator behind him couldn't help but laugh out loud. Others might not know that Yang Yi was bragging, but the 17 cultivators that came with Yang Yi knew exactly what happened. When Yang Yi advanced to the half-step sovereign realm, there were indeed 4 cultivators surrounding him. 3 of them were grade 1 human sovereigns, and 1 was grade 2 human sovereign. However, the 4 cultivators surrounding him were all heavily injured. His true battle strength was only about 10%. Otherwise, with Yang Yi's strength, he would have long been dead. How could he still be acting cool here? One must know that in the Sacred Heaven sect, Yang Yi's strength could only be ranked in the lower middle among all the half-step sovereign realm cultivators. Courting death. Yang Yi was happily acting cool, but his own people came out to mess things up. How could Yang Yi tolerate this? As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Yi disappeared instantly. Smack. In the next moment, a crisp sound rang out. The peak manifestation realm cultivator who couldn't help but laugh just now had 5 bright red palm prints on his face. Disobeying orders, go to the disciplinary hall to receive. Yang Yi said coldly. There's no need to go to the disciplinary hall. Just do it here. An indifferent voice interrupted Yang Yi's words. Who? Yang Yi's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly turned to look. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 3 figures approached from afar and landed in the area in the blink of an eye. Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, and the Red Devil. On the Dark Emperor's back, there was a white puppy lying on it, looking charmingly naive. Half-step manifestation realm? Feeling the aura emanating from Ningyu, Yang Yi was stunned at first, then he laughed maniacally. I was wondering which peerless expert it was. So it's just a half-step manifestation realm cultivator. What's wrong with the people of the Great Xia Kingdom? All of them are extremely arrogant, as if they're all geniuses that only appear once in 10,000 years. As he spoke, Yang Yi revealed a puzzled expression and said exaggeratedly, Tell me, what do I have to do for you to let them go? At the start, Ningyu wanted to start a massacre. However, when he saw Lu Wei's pale face and trembling body, Ningyu could only choose to settle things peacefully. After all, Lu Wei had an extreme yin body. Once it exploded, the consequences would be unimaginable. Oh, it seems like you also know that Lu Wei has an extreme yin body. Yang Yi rolled his eyes and said sinisterly, since that's the case, things will be much easier. Open up your mind and let my soul power enter your consciousness. Once I control you completely, I'll naturally let Lu Wei go. All right, I promise you. Ningyu said without hesitation. No. Upon hearing Ningyu's words, everyone, including the Red Devil, the Dark Emperor, and even Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun, objected. As the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast had already isolated all sounds around Lu Wei could only see the situation in front of her and could not hear anything. I know what I'm doing. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for the Red Devil and the rest not to worry. Thereafter, Ningyu walked towards Yang Yi step by step. Ningyu walked very slowly. As he advanced, Ningyu's mind spun and he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Yang Yi wanted to control Ningyu, but how could Ningyu not want to control Yang Yi? As long as he could control the leaders of both sides, everything would become very simple. 10 steps, 9 steps. As Ningyu advanced, Yang Yi was secretly counting the distance. 3 steps, do it. When Ningyu was only 3 steps away from Yang Yi's eyes turned cold. He stomped on the ground and rushed out. Sho. Seeing that Yang Yi had made his move, Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun hurriedly moved to block Lu Wei's eyes. Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun had some understanding of the extreme yin body and knew that the emotions of the extreme yin body could not fluctuate too much. Otherwise, there was a high chance of an explosion. Brat, do you think I want to control a trash? I only asked you to come over to have some fun. Ha ha ha. Yang Yi clenched his right fist and punched towards Ningyu's heart. Chapter 871. Devour them all. Chapter 871. Devour. Since you want to play, I'll play with you. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out as well. On the surface of the fist, a violent fluctuation of yuan qi appeared. Yang Yi's heart trembled slightly when he felt the energy contained in Ningyu's fist. He was slightly shocked. From Yang Yi's point of view, Ningyu was only a half-step manifestation realm warrior. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't be that strong. In fact, Yang Yi felt that he didn't even need to use his full strength to kill Ningyu. I have to use my full strength. At this moment, Yang Yi changed his view of Ningyu. The energy in his sea of consciousness surged out again and wrapped around his fist. He threw a backhand punch that couldn't be avoided and collided with Ningyu's fist. Swoosh. Swoosh. After the fists collided, the two figures rapidly retreated. Yang Yi had to retreat more than 10 steps before he could stabilize himself. On the other hand, Ningyu only managed to stabilize himself after taking 3 steps back. The difference between the two was obvious. Whoosh. Yang Yi's move put him at a disadvantage. The expressions of the 17 peak manifestation realm warriors that he had brought along also changed drastically. Although the 17 peak manifestation realm warriors knew that Yang Yi was just putting on an act, Yang Yi's true strength was still very strong. Yang Yi, who was a half-step supremacy realm warrior, was infinitely close to a first-grade human supremacy. How could they not be shocked that the skinny man opposite them was able to gain the upper hand against Yang Yi? Very good. However, the one who was the most shocked was Yang Yi. Yang Yi never expected that he, a mid-tier genius of the Sacred Heaven sect, would be evenly matched with Ningyu. In fact, he was even at a slight disadvantage. You've completely infuriated me. I'm going to tear you apart. Yang Yi clenched his fists tightly and charged forward once again. This time, Yang Yi was enraged. He swore that he would tear Ningyu apart and let Ningyu see what true strength was. Ningyu could not be bothered to waste his breath on Yang Yi. He immediately drew out the red demon sword and slashed out several sword ripples. Without the red demon, the power of the red demon sword would be greatly reduced. Yang Yi easily blocked the sword wave that Ningyu had sent out. Then, he began fighting Ningyu in mid-air. The battle between Yang Yi and Ningyu caused the 17 martial artists at the peak of the manifestation realm that Yang Yi had brought to burst into an uproar. What's going on? How can the Great Xia Kingdom have such an absolute prodigy? That's right. I also find it a little strange. Logically speaking, even the strongest martial artist in the Great Xia Kingdom shouldn't be this powerful. I suspect that martial artist is definitely not someone from the Great Xia Kingdom. I don't care if he is from the Great Xia Kingdom. We better hurry up and capture the extreme yin physique, or else Yang Yi will be infuriated. That's right, let's go and catch the extreme yin body. The martial artist who was the most enthusiastic was the martial artist at the peak of the creation realm who was reprimanded by Yang Yi. He wanted to perform well so that he could ask Yang Yi for mercy and see if he could avoid going to the disciplinary hall. Swoosh. However, not long after the martial artist at the peak of the creation realm dashed out, a ray of cold light shot down from the sky. Flower bud. Seeing the true face of the cold light, the martial artist at the peak of the creation realm was slightly stunned. Fart. However, it was this short moment of stupor that became the martial artist at the peak of the creation realm's final song in the Great Xia Kingdom. Without a doubt, the flower bud swallowed him in an instant, leaving nothing behind. Whoosh. The flower bud swallowed a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm in an instant, causing the expressions of the other 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm to change drastically. Everyone, let's attack together. I'm still not. Fart. A bold martial artist at the peak of the creation realm said in a deep voice. However, no matter how bold he was, it was useless in front of the flower bud. After swallowing the first martial artist at the peak of the creation realm, the flower bud did not even stop and immediately began its second devouring journey. Ah, ah, ah. Various screams rose and fell, continuously assaulting the vision and hearing of Duan Cheng and the others. It was too brutal. Those were all martial artists at the peak of the creation realm. They were actually devoured just like that. Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun had goosebumps all over their bodies. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. Swoosh. 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm. 3 minutes. The flower bud spent 3 minutes to completely devour the 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm. After devouring the martial artists at the peak of the creation realm, the flower bud made a turn in the air and once again returned to Ningyu's side. Hihi, have you lost your mind? Why did you bring out this lousy flower bud to fight with me? Do you think it can be the key to our victory? Yang Yi sneered. I'm not sure if it can decide our victory or defeat. However, I know that none of the 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm that you brought were spared. All of them have become food for the flower bud. Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, Humph. Who doesn't know how to boast? The martial artists I brought are all exceptional geniuses of the Sacred Heaven sect. A mere flower bud dares to dream of. What? Yang Yi snorted coldly and could not help but look down. This glance caused Yang Yi to be stunned on the spot. Yang Yi realized that the 10 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm that he brought had all disappeared. Baffling. What the hell? At this moment, these words appeared in Yang Yi's mind. They were all fine just now. Why did they disappear in the blink of an eye? Yang Yi unleashed his perception, hoping to find some clues. Stop looking. The matter is already very clear. The 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm that you brought were all killed and devoured by the flower bud. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for Yang Yi not to waste his energy. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Up until now, Yang Yi still could not believe it. 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm were devoured and killed by an unknown flower bud just like that. If this matter were to spread, others would definitely think that he had lost his mind. Spatial artifact. Yes, it's a spatial artifact. Suddenly, Yang Yi seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, the flower bud in your hand must be a spatial artifact. Moreover, it's the kind that can store people. If you know what's good for you, then throw the flower bud over. Otherwise, I'll make sure you suffer the consequences. You want the flower bud? Ningyu raised his brows and said calmly, since you want it, I'll give it to you. As he spoke, Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the flower bud to Yang Yi. After devouring 17 martial artists at the peak of the creation realm, Ningyu faintly realized that the fifth petal on the flower bud had an urge to disappear. In other words, as long as the flower bud could devour Yang Yi, it would definitely disappear completely. Ningyu was looking forward to what would happen after the petals on the flower bud completely disappeared. One had to know that every time the flower bud transformed, its combat strength would increase exponentially. Once all 5 petals disappeared, one could imagine how terrifying the flower bud would be at that time. Chapter 872. Chapter 872, Sacred Heaven Sect Humph. Throwing the flower bud over so easily, there's definitely something fishy going on. Yang Yi snorted coldly, then waved his hands repeatedly. Instantly, a cold gleam flew out from his sleeves. Stop! Yang Yi bellowed, hoping that the cold gleam could block the flower bud in midair. TSK. However, there was always a huge difference between ideal and reality. The moment the cold gleam that Yang Yi shot out touched the flower bud, it was completely devoured, not a single ripple was stirred up. What? Yang Yi's expression changed drastically. Yang Yi was very confident in the cold gleam that he threw out. Even a peak manifestation realm martial artist might not be able to gain the upper hand against it. However, the reality was that the cold gleam was devoured by the flower bud in an instant. At this moment, Yang Yi finally felt a little nervous. It seemed like what Ningyu said earlier was most likely true. Want to devour me? It's not that easy. Although he had guessed a certain possibility, Yang Yi did not want to resign himself to death. First of all, his cultivation was not at the peak of the manifestation realm, but a genuine half-step supreme being. Secondly, his strength was much stronger than a peak manifestation realm martial artist. At the critical moment, Yang Yi took out a purple flying sword from his chest. The flying sword was about 3 feet long, and it contained a violent fluctuation of vital energy. Yang Yi held the flying sword and slashed down from the sky. Crack! However, Yang Yi had still underestimated the flower bud's strength. His king-rank middle-grade flying sword broke into 2 halves in an instant. Such a change was clearly not what Yang Yi had expected. Damn it! Yang Yi was not that kind of stubborn person. After his king-rank middle-grade flying sword broke, he cursed and directly tore through the void, wanting to leave. Bang! In the eyes of the flower bud, Yang Yi was delicious. How could it let him go? Therefore, Yang Yi had just tore through the void, and before he could escape, he was struck in the chest by the flower bud, his body flying several feet away. Hold on, I have something to ask him. Seeing that the flower bud wanted to devour Yang Yi, Ningyu hurriedly flew to the side of the flower bud, blocking it. Buzz! The flower bud was obviously displeased to be stopped by Ningyu. It began to sway rapidly in the air. Alright, the 1 million royal grade origin crystals in the spatial ring are all yours. For the sake of appeasing the flower bud, Ningyu had no choice but to give up the remaining 1 million king grade origin crystals in his spatial ring. Shio! The flower bud seemed to have a mind of its own as it burrowed directly into the storage ring and went into hibernation. Yang Yi, what's your relationship with Du Feng and the rest? Ningyu sorted out his thoughts and asked. Du Feng is from the ice domain. Are you also from the ice domain? Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun knew that Yang Yi came from Ice Domain's Sacred Heaven sect, but Ningyu didn't. Don't even think of getting any information out of me, Yang Yi said coldly. You have to think this through. The 17 martial artists at the peak of the fate realm that you brought with you have already been devoured by the flower bud. If you continue to be stubborn, you will definitely end up like them, Ningyu said calmly. If I tell you, will you let me go? Yang Yi was originally prepared to die, but he changed his mind after hearing Ningyu's words. Yang Yi rolled his eyes and said, I am indeed from the ice domain. Furthermore, I'm from the most powerful sect in the ice domain, the Sacred Heaven sect. Lu Wei is the person that the Sacred Heaven sect's sect master personally ordered to find. I advise you not to get involved in this matter. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Ice domain, Sacred Heaven Sect. Hearing this, Ningyu couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The ice domain was different from the sky demon domain. The sky demon domain didn't have overlord-level sects, but the ice domain did. The Sacred Heaven Sect was an overlord-level sect in the ice domain. The Sacred Heaven Sect could be called the most powerful sect in the ice domain. No other sect could shake its overlord status. It's good that you know. If you know what's good for you, let me go as soon as possible. Otherwise, the Sacred Heaven Sect. Oh right, your friend has a sound transmission ball. Yang Yi originally wanted to use the Sacred Heaven Sect to scare Ningyu. However, after thinking about it, Yang Yi felt that it was more practical to use the thing in front of him. Yang Yi pointed at Ouyang Lun and said, "That sound transmission ball belongs to Supremacy Liu Moons. Supremacy Liu Moons is a 6th grade supreme martial artist. I believe that Supremacy Liu Moons will definitely rush over in 10 minutes. Sound transmission ball?" Ningyu frowned slightly. "That's right. It's a sound transmission ball." Yang Yi said, "If you let me go, I can put in a good word for you in front of Supremacy Liu Moons. At that time, you might even have the chance to join the Sacred Heaven Sect. Aren't you forgetting something?" Ningyu looked at the crystal ball in Ouyang Lun's hand and hesitated for a moment. "I've seen quite a few sound transmission balls in the past. I've also heard a little about their usage. The so-called sound transmission ball can only be broken by the other party. You said that Supremacy Liu Moons will be here in 10 minutes. What are your intentions?" Swish. Yang Yi thought that he had already done a good job pretending, but he didn't know that he was displaying his slight skill in front of an expert. Ningyu knew how to use the sound transmission ball. "Don't bother with those empty words. You just need to tell me if there are still people from the Sacred Heaven Sect in the Great Xia Kingdom," Ningyu said in a low voice. "Definitely," Yang Yi said without hesitation. "Aside from us and Du Feng, there are still a large number of Sacred Heaven Sect martial artists on their way. The sect master has already sent out the Sacred Heaven Order. Whoever can bring the extreme yin body back to the ice region in one piece will obtain a position as a core disciple. According to my estimates, there are at least a few hundred martial artists coming from the ice region." Although Yang Yi was exaggerating a little, it was not a big deal. There were indeed quite a number of people from the Sacred Heaven Sect coming to the Great Xia Kingdom. Even if there weren't a few hundred, there were at least a few dozen. So many people. Ningyu frowned and fell into deep thought. If it was really as Yang Yi said, then the situation would become more and more dangerous. Blood God Palace, Corpse Sect, 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. These 3 forces all had a grudge against Ningyu. Adding on the Supreme 9 Purities Temple and the Ice Region Sacred Heaven Sect, Ningyu felt that his strength was no longer enough. He had to rush to the creation realm. Now, Yang Yi had been paying attention to Ningyu. While Ningyu was thinking, Yang Yi took the opportunity and punched with all his strength. TSK, TSK. Yang Yi's fist was very fast. It even made a hissing sound as it rubbed against the air. Furthermore, in order to kill Ningyu in one move, Yang Yi didn't even hesitate to burn his essence blood to increase the power of his fist. Life and death depended on this move. "Brat, to be able to die in my hands, consider it your good fortune from your previous life." Yang Yi seemed to be able to see Ningyu's tragic death and couldn't help but laugh maniacally. "Is that so?" Ningyu's reaction to Yang Yi's actions was very indifferent. He raised his brows and crossed his arms in front of his chest. "You think I'm not prepared?" Swish. Chapter 873. Initial Stage of the Manifestation Realm. Chapter 873. Initial Stage of the Manifestation Realm. What? Yang Yi's expression changed drastically when he saw the flower bud attacking him. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. To be honest, Yang Yi didn't expect Ningyu to react in time. He had launched a sneak attack. If Ningyu could notice his sneak attack, didn't that mean that Ningyu had been guarding against him all along? Yang Yi quickly retracted his fist and turned to run. He wasn't the flower bud's match for the first time. If he continued to fight like a fool, he would only be devoured mercilessly. Yang Yi wasn't a fool. If he couldn't win, he should run. Yang Yi knew this principle. However, it was too late for Yang Yi to escape now. The flower bud cut through the air and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. It entered his body through his heart. Fart. Yang Yi felt a tearing pain in his heart. He wanted to say something but spat out a mouthful of blood instead. His body trembled uncontrollably. I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Ningyu came to Yang Yi's side and said plainly, since that's the case, you should go and accompany your friends. TSK. The flower bud seemed to understand Ningyu's words and devoured Yang Yi in an instant. Yang Yi couldn't understand how a half-step manifestation realm warrior from the Great Xia Kingdom could have such terrifying combat power. It was a pity that Yang Yi would never be able to find the answer for the rest of his life. Ice Region, Sacred Heaven Gate. After the flower bud devoured Yang Yi, Ningyu frowned and murmured. Although the Divine Heaven sect was far away from the Sky Demon region, it was extremely powerful. A force like the Blood God Palace would never be able to catch up. Rumble. Just as Ningyu was having a headache over the Sacred Heaven Gate, an earth-shattering rumble came from the flower bud. What's going on? The sudden change made Ningyu's expression change. He hurriedly shifted his gaze to the flower bud. This caused Ningyu's mouth to open slightly, and his face was filled with confusion. In midair, the fifth petal on the flower bud had completely disappeared. The disappearance of the fifth petal was not what shocked Ningyu the most. What shocked Ningyu the most was that the other four petals on the flower bud disappeared at the same time. The complete disappearance of the petals also meant that the flower bud no longer existed. Gulp. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Ningyu was dumbfounded. The flower bud had disappeared. The flower bud was his strongest trump card. If the flower bud disappeared, his battle prowess would drop by at least 50%. In the past, he could easily kill a half-step honorable realm martial artist by relying on the flower bud. Now that the flower bud had disappeared, it would be difficult for him to even contend against a half-step supremacy realm martial artist like Yang Yi, let alone kill him. Bang! As soon as Ningyu swallowed, he noticed that the branch of the world tree had changed a lot. At the top of the branch, there was actually a sprout. The flower bud disappeared and the sprout appeared. Could this small branch of the world tree be the core of the world tree? Ningyu's eyeballs moved, and he thought of this possibility almost instantly. Generally speaking, something like a withered tree coming back to life was very rare. Since this branch could produce a flower bud and sprout, it was enough to show that this branch was very special. At the very least, it was the main path of the world tree. At the thought of this, Ningyu revealed a joyous expression. Perhaps, this sprout before him could really grow into a world tree. Swoosh! While Ningyu was still rejoicing in his heart, the sprout suddenly shot out a huge energy light pillar. The energy light pillar flew directly towards Ningyu. Looking at the energy light pillar flying towards him continuously, Ningyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva again. The sprout could actually give feedback. In the past, Ningyu's cultivation had broken through time and time again from the feedback of the flower bud. Now that the sprout's feedback of energy was extremely rich, Ningyu decided on the spot to break through to the creation realm. Hong Fiend, you guys stay away for now. Ningyu was not an indecisive person. He immediately sat down cross-legged and circulated the spirit transformation technique to absorb the energy from the sprout while instructing Hong Fiend and the rest to leave first. Let's go. Hong Fiend seemed to have guessed that Ningyu was going to break through to the creation realm. After saying that, he quickly left. Du and Cheng and the rest also left hurriedly. They were not fools. Once Ningyu advanced to the creation realm, that kind of aura would definitely be very powerful. If they were close, it would not be good if they were affected. Devour. Ningyu automatically shielded himself from the outside world's interference. His soul power entered his consciousness and controlled the golden core to devour the terrifying energy that the sprout fed back. Although it was called energy, it was not. It was best described as holy energy. After the flower bud turned into a sprout, the speed at which it absorbed holy energy was obviously much faster. However, the speed at which the sprout absorbed and devoured holy energy was exactly the same, so it was still unable to leave any holy energy for Ningyu. Therefore, Ningyu especially cherished this huge pillar of energy. Pust. In Ningyu's consciousness, the huge golden core kept devouring the energy. Almost every minute that passed, the energy fed back by the sprout decreased a little. About an hour later. Swoosh. Ningyu stood up with a swoosh. His early-stage grade 7 soul power also entered his consciousness, cooperating with the golden core to devour the energy. Time passed by minute. Ningyu was not anxious, but the Dark Emperor on the other side was very anxious. Hong Fiend, what are the chances of Ningyu advancing to the creation realm? What are the chances? Of course, it's 100%. Hong Fiend rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor and said, 100%? I don't believe it. Ningyu doesn't have a creation elixir, so how can he advance to the creation realm? I heard that humans have to have a creation elixir to advance to the creation realm. The Dark Emperor pursed his lips and said, rumble. However, just as the Dark Emperor pursed his lips, he was stunned on the spot. An extremely terrifying aura shot into the sky. Sensing the terrifying aura that shot into the distance, the Dark Emperor could not help but gasp. Damn it, it's too terrifying. Are you sure that Ningyu has only advanced to the creation realm? Duan Cheng and Ouyang Lun could not believe their senses. How was this advancing to the creation realm? Even a half-step supremacy martial artist would not be able to catch up to this aura, right? It's indeed the creation realm, and it's only early-stage creation realm. Hong Fiend's senses were very strong. He could clearly tell that Ningyu was only early-stage creation realm and not half-step supremacy. Ningyu has advanced to the creation realm. The silver-winged dragon had already removed the seal on Lu Wei's hearing, so Lu Wei could hear Hong Fiend and the rest's conversation. It could be said that other than not knowing that she had the extreme yin body, Lu Wei knew everything else. Phew. Ningyu did not know that Lu Wei and the rest were shocked. At this moment, Ningyu let out a long breath and muttered to himself while staring at the mystic moon jade pendant in his hand. Chapter 874. Check them one by one. Chapter 874. Ever since he got the mystic moon jade pendant from Lu Durong, Ningyu kept it with him and did not pass it to Lu Wei. The reason why Ningyu did not pass the mystic moon jade pendant to Lu Wei immediately was not because Ningyu wanted to keep it for himself, but because Ningyu realized that the seal on the mystic moon jade pendant had loosened. The mystic moon jade pendant in this state could be easily discovered by those who were observant. Rather than leaving it with Lu Wei, it was better for Ningyu to keep it with him. This way, he could slightly suppress the aura of the mystic moon jade pendant. Now that he had advanced to the manifestation realm, all the problems would be solved. Seal it for me. Ningyu waved his hands continuously. In a split second, numerous cold rays flew out and entered the mystic moon jade pendant. Swoosh. Not only that, Ningyu also released his grade 7 beginner soul power and wrapped it around the surface of the mystic moon jade pendant. Drip. Drip. In order to completely conceal the aura of the mystic moon jade pendant, Ningyu was extremely focused. He did not even have the time to wipe the sweat on his forehead. Time passed by minute. In the blink of an eye, another half an hour had passed. Fortunately, the seal has only loosened and not completely dissipated. Otherwise, even if I advance to the manifestation realm, it would be difficult to conceal the aura of the mystic moon jade pendant in such a short period of time. Looking at the mystic moon jade pendant that had its aura concealed, Ningyu wiped the sweat on his forehead. Since the problem of the mystic moon jade pendant had been solved, there was no need for Ningyu to carry it with him. Swoosh. In a flash, Ningyu arrived beside Lu Wei. Wear this. Ningyu passed the mystic moon jade pendant to Lu Wei and said. After receiving the jade pendant, Lu Wei wore it around her neck without asking why. Let's go to Tianxian City. Seeing Lu Wei put on the mysterious moon jade pendant, Ningyu waved his hand and took the lead to fly towards mysterious Sky City. Seeing Ningyu set off, the Dark Emperor and the others were first stunned, and then they chased after him. To be honest, the Dark Emperor and the others all knew that Lu Wei had the extreme yin body, and also knew that the emotions of the extreme yin body could not fluctuate too much, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. In the eyes of the Dark Emperor and the others, The best way was to let Lu Wei enter the storage ring. This was the best way to solve the problem. Of course, all of this was built on the premise that the Dark Emperor and the others didn't know about the mystic moon jade pendant. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't have such thoughts in their hearts. Tianxian City. The turmoil among the four big families in Tianxian City ended with the victory of the Ning family. The Ning family had also become the well-deserved overlord of Tianxian City. Under the leadership of the Ning family, Tianxian City was thriving, and there were very few cases of stealing. However, recently, the Ning family might have encountered some unforeseen event, and the members of the family were always frowning and dejected. Even the acting patriarch of the Ning family, Ning Tang, rarely showed his face in Tianxian City. Bang! At this time, in a certain room of the Ning family, the acting patriarch of the Ning family, Ning Tang, slapped the chair beneath him and said coldly, "They are really too much to actually ground us. Grand Elder, why don't I think of a way to leave the Ning family and go to the capital to look for Ning Yu?" In the room, other than Ning Tang, there were 4 other martial artists. The geniuses of the Ning family, Ning Xian, Ning Xin, Ning Hu, and the Ning family's patriarch, Ning He. At this time, Ning Xian said in a deep voice, "I heard from that mysterious person that Ning Yu is very strong, and is a top genius even in Danwu College." Top genius? What's the use of a top genius? Ning Tang said angrily, "Do you know what the cultivation level of that mysterious person is?" "What cultivation level?" Ning Xian asked doubtfully. "Creation realm," Ning Tang said. Even a creation realm martial artist was easily defeated. "Do you think that Ning Yu can help us if he rushes back?" "In my opinion, it's best that Ning Yu doesn't come back, or else the last descendant of the Ning family will be controlled." But Ning Yu opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he was attracted by the sound of a door being broken. Bang! Outside the door, a young man about 20 years old kicked the door open and swaggered in. "Who is the patriarch of the Ning family?" The young man did not beat around the bush. After entering the room, he said directly, "I give you 5 minutes to gather all the members of the Ning family between 15 and 25 years old in the martial arts arena. If even one is missing, you should know the consequences." With that, the young man left the room on his own. 5 minutes later, in the Ning family's martial arts arena, the younger generation of martial artists stood in one area, and the rest of the martial artists stood in another area. In the middle of the martial arts arena, there were 3 martial artists sitting on the round table. Staring at the martial artists on the round table, except for a few brave ones, the rest of the Ning family were trembling. Ahem. One of the martial artists on the round table coughed twice and said in a clear voice, "Don't panic. We mean no harm. We are only here to find one person. As long as you cooperate, when we find that person, we will give the Ning family the best cultivation resources, the best, Zhongji Yu, don't waste time. Hurry up and start." Before the martial artist finished speaking, another young martial artist on the round table waved his hand and said impatiently, "All right." The martial artist called Zhongji Yu took out a crystal ball and said loudly, "All the martial artists between 15 and 25 years old, come up one by one and force a drop of blood to drip on the crystal ball. As long as the crystal ball shines, we will leave. You, the first one." Zhonggu's eyes fell on the nearest martial artist. Ning Guang, the genius of the Ning family's younger generation, 15 years old. Ning Guang came to the round table and carefully forced a drop of blood to drip on the crystal ball. Not qualified. 3 seconds later, seeing that the crystal ball was still intact, Zhongji Yu said in a deep voice, "Next." While Zhongji Yu was testing slowly, the other 2 martial artists began to talk. "He Guan, are you sure the person we are looking for is in the Ning family?" One of the 2 martial artists, who was slightly older, said, "I'm sure. That bastard must be in the Ning family." He Guan dared to show his impatience to Zhongji Yu, but to Liu Qiong, he could only smile. In the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Liu Qiong was in the early stage of the Fate Realm. She was ranked 4th on the genius list. As for him, although his cultivation was similar to Liu Qiong's, there was a huge difference in their strength. On the genius list, he could only rank around 20. Zhonggu's cultivation was even lower, half a step into the Fate realm. He was ranked 50th on the Supreme 9 Purities Temple's genius list. "What's the use of your guarantee?" Liu Qiong said in a deep voice. "This time, we are not the only ones who came to the Great Xia Kingdom. Even Yin Hua, who is ranked 3rd on the genius list, came to the Great Xia Kingdom. If Yin Hua finds that bastard first, you should know the consequences better than me. I know this, but Yin Hua has something wrong with his brain. He actually didn't look in the Ning family, but went to the Magic Beast mountain range." Chapter 875. Arrive in time, be that as it may, we still have to be prepared. If we can't find that little bastard in the Ning family, we'll have to immediately head to the mountain range of magical beasts. Liu Qiong was not as brainless as He Guan. He was more rational. "That's right. We have to be prepared." He Guan first agreed with Liu Qiong before he turned around and scolded, "Zhongji Yu, hurry up and finish the examination within 10 minutes. Hearing this, Zhonggu's eyebrows slightly furrowed, his face revealing a displeased expression. However, Zhonggu's back was facing He Guan, so He Guan did not notice. "Humph. With so many people here, how can we finish the inspection in 10 minutes? Zhongji Yu snorted inwardly, but on the surface, he said in a clear voice, "One person is too slow. Let's do it together." Whoosh, whoosh. The two peerless geniuses of the Ning family came to the round platform and forced a drop of blood onto the crystal ball. As expected, the crystal ball was safe and sound. Time was ticking away. As time went by, Liu Qiong's expression became colder and colder. Glancing at the remaining 10 or so young martial artists, Liu Qiong said in a low voice, "Looks like that bastard isn't in the Ning family." "Hua." When He Guan heard Liu Qiong's words and saw Liu Qiong's facial expression, his heart skipped a beat. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. He Guan was very smart. In order to prevent Liu Qiong from getting angry, he jumped to Ning his side. "Pa." He Guan slapped Ning He on the cheek and said coldly, "Old B****, tell me, is there anyone who hasn't come yet?" Puff. Although Ning He had advanced to the origin core stage with Ouyang Lun's help, he still had no room to fight back when facing He Guan, who was at the initial stage of the creation stage. Spitting out blood and teeth, Ning He said, "All the members of the Ning family are here, no one is missing." "Humph. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn." He Guan didn't believe that everyone from the Ning family was here. As far as he knew, the so-called genius of the Ning family, Ningyu, was not here. "If I don't see Ningyu in 3 minutes, you'll be dead." He Guan's expression was indifferent and his tone was cold. Ning He turned his head away and chose not to speak. "Oh, you're pretty tough, huh? Since that's the case, let me loosen your old bones." Ning He's reaction made He Guan very unhappy. He raised the corner of his mouth and immediately punched Ning He's chest. Bang! The huge force that came from his chest caused Ning He to fly several feet away and directly fall at the entrance of the martial arts practice field. "I'm done." At this moment, Zhonggu's voice came from the round platform. "There's no one who fits." Kaka. Originally, He Guan was very dissatisfied with Ning He. Now, hearing Zhonggu's words, he was even more furious. He stamped his feet on the ground and rushed out. "Old fart, I'll let you know the consequences of offending me." He Guan was furious. He was furious to the extreme. It didn't matter if they couldn't find him, the key was to embarrass him in front of Liu Qiong. Liu Qiong was a genius ranked 4th in the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Not only was she powerful, but she also had a powerful background. If he offended Liu Qiong, he would have a hard time in the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. "Old ancestor, run." Seeing He Guan rush out, Ning Tang, the great elder of the Ning family, hurriedly moved and stood in front of He Guan. "Get lost." The enraged He Guan kicked Ning Tang's body, causing him to pass out. After kicking Ning Tang away, He Guan's figure quickly cut through the void and came to Ning his side in the blink of an eye. "I didn't want to kill you, but it's a pity that you dissatisfied me again and again. I have to grind your bones and scatter your ashes." He Guan didn't attack immediately. Instead, he slightly tidied up his clothes and said lightly, "After you go to hell, learn to be smart." You'd better not resist when people who are stronger than you ask you to do something. Otherwise, you'll die an ugly death. Pooh. You can only jump around in Tianxian City. There are many people in the heavenly devil territory who are more powerful than you. Why don't you find trouble with them? Ningyi spat out a mouthful of saliva and said coldly, "Ha ha ha, I, He Guan, like to bully people who are weaker than me. What can you do to me?" He Guan looked up to the sky and laughed. "He can't do anything to you, but I don't know what I can do to you." After He Guan laughed, an indifferent voice came from a distance. "Rustle." Immediately, several figures appeared in He Guan's line of sight. "Who do you think you are to talk to me like this?" At this time, there were still people who dared to mock He Guan, which made He Guan very angry and unhappy. Swoosh. As He Guan's gloomy words fell, he clenched his right hand into a fist and blasted the thin figure standing beside Ningyi with a violent Yuan Qi gale. Crack. Next, a crisp sound rang out. Then, like a kite with a broken string, He Guan's body retreated several feet away. Boom. The sudden change made the warriors in the entire martial arts practice field change their faces. They all looked at the teenager beside Ningyi in shock. Gulp. After a short period of shock, someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Ningyu, when did he become so strong?" Ning Xian's mouth was slightly open, his face full of disbelief. Could it be that brother Ningyu's cultivation has reached the manifestation stage? Ning Xian's mouth was a little dry. Even after saying this, he himself felt very shocked. In any case, brother Ningyu is back, we will definitely be saved. Ningyu, who was simple and honest, scratched his head and said, "Ah." The discussion in his ears made He Guan's face turn red and he let out a hysterical roar. "Ningyu, your name is Ningyu. How dare you cripple my right hand? I will tear you apart." He Guan roared. Ningyu did not care whether He Guan roared or not. He stamped his feet on the ground and rushed out. He Guan not only seriously injured Ningyi, but also wanted to kill Ningyi. How could Ningyu bear it? Since he could not bear it, then he would teach He Guan a lesson. Even if he could not kill him, he would let him know who he could offend and who he could not. Buzz. However, before Ningyu came to He Guan, Liu Qiong, who was on the round platform, suddenly rushed out and blocked Ningyu's fist for He Guan. After one move, both Ningyu and Liu Qiong took a few steps back. Early stage of the manifestation stage? Liu Qiong stared at Ningyu with a hint of shock on her face. Liu Qiong was very confident in his strength. In the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, except for the top 3 monsters, almost no martial artists in the early stage of the manifestation stage could compete with him. But now, this martial artist in the early stage of the manifestation stage could be evenly matched with him. Although he did not use all his strength, he knew that the other party must not have used all his strength either. Early stage of the manifestation stage. While Liu Qiong was looking at Ningyu, Ningyu was also looking at Liu Qiong. To be honest, Liu Qiong gave Ningyu a great shock. Chapter 876. The 7th move. Ningyu, the genius of the Ning family, known as the Star of Hope for the rise of the Ning family. Liu Qiong's expression did not change much. She first evaluated Ningyu, then changed the topic and said coldly, "However, you must pay for injuring He Guan. Ouyang Lun, the people you met at the Ning family, are they them?" Ningyu ignored Liu Qiong and spoke to Ouyang Lun in a deep voice. "The 3 of them are the leaders, the rest." Ouyang Lun did not dare to be negligent. "That's enough." Ningyu waved his hand and interrupted Ouyang Lun. He then said, "This is the Ning family. Did you get permission from the Ning family to behave atrociously here? Is there something wrong with your brain?" Liu Qiong was slightly startled. "We are from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. We can go wherever we want. Do we need to report to you?" "This is the Ning family. It is not a place for you to behave atrociously." Ningyu snorted and scolded. "I don't care if you are from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple or the Nine Purities Temple. In short, if you cannot get the forgiveness of the Ning family today, then there is no need for you to live in this world." Ha ha ha. Not only did Liu Qiong burst into laughter, but even Zhongji Yu, who was on the round platform, also laughed out loud. A nobody from the Ning family of the Xia kingdom dared to speak to the genius who ranked fourth in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple in such a manner. Either he was itching for a beating or he was tired of living. Remember my name. I am Liu Qiong. This name will be your nightmare in leveling up. After laughing, Liu Qiong's eyes turned cold. She waved her sleeves quickly, and a ray of cold light flew out and headed straight for Ningyu. Whoosh! The speed of the cold light was so fast that it made a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. Hong Mo, evacuate all the members of the Ning family. Treat those who are injured and help those who are not. Ningyu did not take the cold light that was rushing towards him to heart. Instead, he instructed the Red Fiend and the others to evacuate the crowd. Although the martial arts practice field was large, if they fought here, the Ning family's children would definitely be affected. Only when the Ning family retreated with all their might, could Ningyu fight Liu Qiong for real. In Ningyu's mind, although Liu Qiong was rather arrogant, she was still very strong. At the very least, he was the strongest genius that Ningyu had faced at this stage. Humph! How dare you get distracted while fighting me? I'll let you know what true strength is. Seeing that Ningyu was ignoring her, Liu Qiong snorted coldly and dashed out. Boom! Before Liu Qiong reached Ningyu, Ningyu swung his sleeve and easily dispersed the cold light that Liu Qiong shot out. After dispersing the cold light, Ningyu's fist collided with Liu Qiong's fist. When the two fists collided, a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions from the point of contact. Fortunately, the Red Fiend had evacuated the children of the Ning family in time. Otherwise, the aftermath alone would be enough to kill most of the Ning family members. You've completely infuriated me. Liu Qiong took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, originally, I didn't intend to start a massacre in the Ning family. However, since you've disobeyed me time and time again, I can only do as I wish. Zhong Jiyu. Liu Qiong said coldly. Here. Zhong Jiyu replied. Kill everyone from the Zhong family without mercy. Liu Qiong's tone was filled with intense killing intent. Yes. Bang. The ideal was perfect, but the reality shattered Liu Qiong's dream into pieces. Zhong Jiyu had just responded, but before he could start his massacre, he was hit by a black figure and fell off the round platform. What? The sudden change made Liu Qiong's expression change drastically. He was not surprised that Zhong Jiyu had been defeated. After all, Zhonggu's cultivation was only half a step into the manifestation state. He was relatively weak. What shocked him was the person who defeated Zhong Jiyu. To be precise, it was the dog that defeated Zhong Jiyu, the black dog. Ningyu, you can just kill these pieces of trash. Why go through so much trouble? Most importantly, after the black dog defeated Zhong Jiyu, it complained to Ningyu. Liu Qiong was speechless. Since when did a dog dare to be so arrogant? Looks like I'm ignorant. At that moment, Liu Qiong calmed down. He ignored Zhong Jiyu and He Guan. Instead, he took out a crystal ball and said calmly, I mean no harm. As long as you force a drop of blood on it, I'll leave immediately. Whoosh. As he spoke, Liu Qiong flicked his wrist and tossed the crystal ball at Ningyu. Crack. How could Ningyu catch the crystal ball? With a thought, the red devil sword appeared in Ningyu's hand. With a slash of the sword, the crystal ball was directly cut into two halves without any fancy moves. This is my chance. Seeing that the crystal ball had been split in half, Liu Qiong quickly tore the void with his hands and entered it. Do you want to play this trick with me? Seeing that Liu Qiong had disappeared, Ningyu closed his eyes and released his powerful senses to detect Liu Qiong's location. Suddenly, Ningyu held the red devil sword in his hand and stabbed it above his head. Oh no! Liu Qiong did not expect Ningyu's senses to be so powerful. He hastily stopped in mid-air and retreated. However, before Liu Qiong could organize a second round of attacks, he saw that Ningyu was holding the red devil sword and slashed down a sword ripple in the air. The sword ripple was about the thickness of a person's waist and contained a terrifying wave of vitality. What? It's the solitaire. You're the son of a bitch that we've been looking for. Liu Qiong was a peerless genius ranked 4th on the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's Genius Leaderboard. Naturally, He had cultivated the supreme 9 purities sword skill. In fact, Liu Qiong had not only cultivated the supreme 9 purities sword skill, but he had also cultivated up to the 8th form. In the past, Liu Qiong thought that he had cultivated the 6th form, solitaire, to the extreme. Now that he had seen Ning Yu perform the solitaire, even a genius like him felt ashamed of his inferiority. The 7th form of the supreme 9 purities sword skill, sword ripple. Liu Qiong would not sit and wait for death. He immediately took out the flying sword that he carried with him and injected the vitality in his consciousness into the flying sword. He slashed out a sword ripple in the air. In mid-air, 2 sword ripples that were as thick as a person's waist collided with each other like 2 angry tigers. Whoosh! The vitality waves that scattered in all directions almost enveloped the entire martial arts field. Fortunately, Ning Yu had the foresight to evacuate the Ning family members. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, all the martial artists in the martial arts field shifted their gazes to the air. Everyone wanted to see whether the sword ripple produced by Ning Yu or the sword ripple produced by Liu Qiong would win. Ha ha ha, Ning Yu only performed the 6th form of the supreme 9 purities sword skill, while senior brother Liu Qiong performed the 7th form of the supreme 9 purities sword skill. There's no comparison at all. He Guan seemed to have expected the outcome. He laughed wildly and said coldly. Chapter 877. To kill each other. Shut up, kid. The Dark Emperor couldn't stand He Guan's arrogance. Although the sword wave unleashed by Liu Qiong seemed to be quite powerful, however, it did not mean that he could defeat Ning Yu for sure. Even if Liu Qiong's sword ripples could defeat Ning Yu's sword ripples, it had nothing to do with He Guan. The Dark Emperor's figure flashed and arrived beside He Guan in the blink of an eye. His claws slapped He Guan's face repeatedly. Several crisp sounds rang out in the martial arts arena. It even attracted the attention of the crowd. A dead dog dares to hit me. When he was defeated by Ning Yu, He Guan was very angry. However, he knew that he was no match for Ning Yu, so he didn't fight with Ning Yu. Now, He Guan believed that he could easily deal with the Dark Emperor. Therefore, He Guan clenched his right fist and punched the Dark Emperor's head. I want to eat braised dog meat today, ha ha ha. He Guan seemed to have seen the tragic scene of the Dark Emperor's brain exploding, and he laughed uproariously. Bang! He Guan's arrogant laughter had only been halfway through when it suddenly stopped, and then his body was like a kite with a broken string as he retreated a few meters back. Poochie. Dark red blood spurted out. He Guan saw stars and could not even stand steadily. Rumble. At this time, Ning Yu's solitaire had already collided with Liu Qiong's sword wave. When the 2 sword waves clashed, boundless essence scattered in all directions. Seeing this, everyone fled in all directions. Among them, Ning Yu and Liu Qiong, who were at the center of the sword wave, stared at each other and stood still, letting the primordial qi hit them. Looking closely, one could see that there was a dense yuan qi light barrier on the surface of Ning Yu and Liu Qiong's bodies. The yuan qi light barrier easily blocked the yuan qi fragments created by the collision of the sword ripples. The 7th form of the supreme 9 purities sword art. Ning Yu's brows were slightly solemn as he mumbled, "Its power is indeed heaven-defying. It can actually compete with my solitaire." After listening to Ning Yu, Liu Qiong almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "You call this heaven-defying? I executed the 7th form of the supreme 9 purities sword art, while you only executed the 6th form. If this was heaven-defying, then what was not heaven-defying? Cut the crap. You won't be able to escape today." When the primordial qi fragments completely dissipated, Liu Qiong said coldly, "At first, I planned to bring you back to the supreme 9 purities temple alive. Now, I've changed my mind. I realized that bringing a dead person back isn't a big problem." "You really want to kill me?" Ning Yu frowned and said hesitantly. "What? Are you scared? If you're afraid, then hurry up and cripple your own cultivation, then kneel down and kowtow to me a few times. Perhaps I'll spare your life and only cripple you." The corners of Liu Qiong's mouth curled up as she spoke sinisterly. "I think you might have misunderstood. I'm just making sure." Ning Yu's expression was emotionless as he said indifferently, Now that I'm sure that you're determined to kill me, I don't have any concerns anymore. Ha ha ha. Liu Qiong seemed to have heard the funniest joke. She first threw her head back and laughed maniacally before changing the topic and reprimanding, "Whether you have concerns or not has nothing to do with me. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll send you to heaven." The moment she said the word heaven, Liu Qiong stomped on the ground and dashed out rapidly. Liu Qiong's speed was so fast that there was a sizzling sound when she came into contact with the air. Initially, Ningyu was very close to Liu Qiong. Coupled with Liu Qiong's speed, it only took 3 seconds for Liu Qiong to reach Ningyu. Although the situation was critical for Ningyu, Ningyu still looked calm as though it was not Liu Qiong who was charging at him. The first second, Liu Qiong's speed was extremely fast. The second, Liu Qiong continued to increase her speed. The third second. When the third second arrived, Liu Qiong clenched his fists and punched at Ningyu's head. In order to kill Ningyu with one move, Liu Qiong even wrapped the essence qi in his consciousness sea around his fists, causing his fists to make sizzling sounds. This is the moment. As soon as Liu Qiong punched, Ningyu's eyes turned cold and he punched with both of his fists. Bam! When the 4 fists collided, Ningyu and Liu Qiong's eyes narrowed. Subsequently, Liu Qiong took out his flying sword and stabbed at Ningyu's heart. Fart! The sound of the flying sword stabbing into flesh was heard. Ha ha ha, you're still too young. Seeing the flying sword stabbing into Ningyu's heart, Liu Qiong threw his head back and laughed. Is that so? Just as Liu Qiong was laughing maniacally, he heard an indifferent voice. Immediately after, Ningyu held the red fiend sword and stabbed it out. Poof! The same flying sword stabbed into the body, and the same scene was displayed again. However, this time, the one who was stabbed by the flying sword was not Ningyu, but Liu Qiong. Liu Qiong lowered his head and looked at the red flying sword that was stabbed into his heart. Then, he raised his head and pointed at Ningyu, shouting crazily, "Impossible! How is this possible? Haven't you already been stabbed in the heart by my flying sword? How can you still resist?" Liu Qiong could not understand. Logically, a martial artist whose heart was pierced by his king-level flying sword could not possibly have such powerful combat power. "Did you think you stabbed my heart?" Ningyu raised the red fiend sword in his hand and slashed at the flying sword that was stabbed into his heart right in front of Liu Qiong. Crack! The flying sword was slashed into 2, and Ningyu pulled out the part that was stabbed into his heart. Ding! Throwing the remaining half of the flying sword onto the ground, Ningyu said calmly, "I forgot to tell you that I tilted my body slightly just now, so you did not stab my heart." You! Poof! Liu Qiong extended his hand and pointed at Ningyu. He wanted to say something cold, but he spat out a mouthful of blood again. His eyes rolled back, and he died on the spot. What? Liu Qiong's death was something that He Guan and Zhong Jiyu could never have imagined. One had to know that Liu Qiong was ranked 4th in the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. The unparalleled genius ranked 4th in the Supreme 9 Purities Temple was actually defeated by an ordinary person from the Dacia Kingdom. No, it should be said that he was defeated by the son of a traitor from the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Shock, fear, annoyance, all kinds of uneasy emotions appeared on He Guan and Zhong Gu's faces. Let's go. After Liu Qiong's death, He Guan knew that he had no chance of survival if he stayed any longer. Staying here would only mean death, but there was still a chance of survival if he ran away. However, He Guan did not run away rashly. He quietly approached Zhong Jiyu and whispered, "Zhong Jiyu, I will take the left, and you take the right. Let's split up and run." No one noticed that when He Guan was speaking, he quietly threw a storage bag into Zhong Gu's pocket. Split up and run? Zhong Jiyu frowned. Based on his understanding of He Guan, he knew that He Guan was not that kind. However, with his life hanging by a thread, Zhong Jiyu couldn't be bothered anymore. He stomped on the ground and quickly ran to the right. Hehe, in order to live, I have to wrong you. Chapter 878. Supremacy Yun Tian Crack. The moment the jade tablet shattered, Zhong Jiyu sensed that something was amiss. However, by the time Zhong Jiyu reacted, it was already too late. Rumble. The storage bag in his pocket suddenly exploded. The aftermath of the terrifying explosion almost engulfed Zhong Jiyu in an instant. Then, with Zhong Jiyu at the center, the shockwave spread out in all directions. Red Fiend, Dark Emperor, seal off the training field. I'll be right back. No matter how terrifying the shockwave of the explosion was, Ningyu did not take it to heart. That was because the Dark Emperor and Red Fiend were very strong and could easily control the shockwave within a certain range. As long as the shockwave did not spread out, it would be fine. Ningyu's focus was on Higuan. Ningyu needed to know clearly who had come to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple and how many supremacies there were. Only then could Ningyu better judge the difference in strength between him and the enemy. Otherwise, he would be blind like a headless fly. Fat. What a useless idiot. And he's a genius ranked 4th on the genius roll. To think that he can't even beat that bastard Ningyu. What a disgrace. A disgrace to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. In a dense forest outside Tianxian City, Higuan appeared out of thin air and spat out a mouthful of saliva. He said coldly, "That bastard might be at the early stage of the manifestation realm like me, but he's much stronger than me. I need to increase my cultivation as soon as possible. Once I advance to mid-stage manifestation realm, I'll immediately seek revenge on him." As he spoke, Higuan fell into deep thought. His cultivation was early-stage manifestation realm. If he wanted to advance to mid-stage manifestation realm in a short period of time, he would need a large amount of resources. Or rather, there was an expert who was willing to imbue him directly. At the thought of this, Higuan revealed a determined look. He took out a scroll from his pocket and burned it. Sizzle. After the scroll was burned, Higuan sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. Swoosh. When the scroll was burned, a group of dozens of martial artists were advancing rapidly in the depths of the magical beast ridge. Suddenly, the old man in the lead stopped. "Supremacy Yun Tian, did you discover something?" Next to the old man, a slender young man asked doubtfully. "No, I have something to do in Tianxian City. You guys rest here first." The old man waved his hand, then tore open the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. After the old man left, an early-stage manifestation realm martial artist came to the young man's side and asked with a frown, "Yin Hua, what happened to Venerable Yun Tian?" "Not sure." The young man called Yin Hua shook his head. "Without Sovereign Yun Tian, it will be very difficult for us to continue venturing deeper into the magical beast mountain range," the early-stage creation realm warrior said. "It's fine. Let's wait for now. If Venerable Cloud Sky doesn't return in 3 hours, we'll continue." Yin Hua found a rock to sit on and waved his hand. Seeing this, the rest of the martial artists sat down cross-legged, took out their origin crystals, and began to rest. At first, they thought that there were no powerful demonic beasts in the magical beast mountain range. However, as they ventured deeper, they realized that they were wrong. It wasn't that there weren't any powerful demonic beasts in the magical beast mountain range, it was just that they hadn't reached the deepest region yet. Along the way, they had encountered at least 10 half-step manifestation realm demonic beasts. Furthermore, the deeper they went, the stronger the cultivation of the demonic beasts. They could imagine that they would definitely encounter manifestation realm demonic beasts if they continued further. At the same time, in the dense forest outside of Tianxian City, Higuan opened his eyes and slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid air. "I've finally recovered to my peak state. Now, I just have to wait for Venerable Yun Tian to rush over and give me the blessing." Higuan's eyes revealed a smear of viciousness. Venerable Yun Tian is a first-grade pinnacle human sovereign. After he gives me the blessing, my cultivation will at least reach the middle phase of the manifestation realm, or even the late phase of the manifestation realm. At that time, dealing with those initial phase of the manifestation realm will be a piece of cake. Is that so? Before Higuan's sinister voice could finish, he was interrupted by an indifferent voice. "Who?" With his voice interrupted, Higuan immediately stood up and stared at the void before him. He said in a deep voice, "Don't be sneaky. Come out if you have the ability, as you wish." An indifferent voice resounded once again. Thereafter, a skinny figure appeared before Higuan. Ningyu. Looking at the familiar figure before him, Guan's face drastically changed and his body couldn't help trembling. At this moment, Guan was inwardly regretting. If he had known earlier, he would have stayed further away from Tianqian City. That way, Ningyu wouldn't have found him so quickly. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Guan could only force himself to calm down and said, "I'll be honest with you. Venerable Yun Tian will be here in 3 minutes. Venerable Yun Tian is a first-grade pinnacle human sovereign. If he comes, you should know the consequences. Are you done?" Ningyu quietly listened to Guan's narration. After a long while, Ningyu faintly said, "If you're done, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Venerable Yun Tian will probably take an hour to arrive. I'll calm him down first." Guan thought inwardly but maintained his composure on the surface. "Ningyu, we don't actually have any enmity between us. I also don't like Liu Qiong. You've done me a favor by killing him. Firstly, how many people from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple have come to the Great Xia Kingdom? Who are the powerful figures?" Ningyu couldn't be bothered with Guan and asked directly. "I'm not sure about the exact number, but there are quite a few powerful figures." Guan didn't play any tricks and said, "Just the Supremes alone, there are quite a few. Venerable Yun Tian can only be ranked below average among all the Supremes. Aside from the Supremes, there's also a cultivator ranked 3rd on the Supreme Nine Purities Temple's genius ranking, Yin Hua." Yin Hua. Hearing this, Ningyu knitted his brows and asked, "What's his cultivation?" "I'm not sure. Because in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, the top 3 martial artists on the genius ranking are all freaks." Guan shook his head and continued, "Liu Qiong is ranked 4th on the genius ranking and is at the early stage of the manifestation realm. But I can tell you very clearly that even 10 Liu Qiong combined wouldn't be a match for Yin Hua. So powerful." Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. Liu Qiong's strength was still very strong. Looking at Guan's facial expression, he didn't seem to be lying. 10 Liu Qiong wouldn't be a match for Yin Hua. It was imaginable how terrifying Yin Hua's strength was. At the very least, the current Ningyu couldn't contend against him. It seems like the early stage of the manifestation realm is far from enough. Ningyu took a deep breath and said to himself. After advancing to the early stage of the manifestation realm, Ningyu's strength had a qualitative leap. Even if he were to face a half-step supremacy realm cultivator, he would be able to kill him easily. However, there was always someone better out there. He had to increase his strength as soon as possible. Good chance. Chapter 879. Triple Birth Palm Chapter 879 Inch Explode. As soon as the storage bag was thrown out, Guan crushed the jade pendant in the bag and bellowed. Boom. As soon as Guan finished his sentence, the storage bag exploded. Let's go. The explosion of the storage bag created a powerful shockwave that spread in all directions. Guan seized the opportunity and fled into the distance at an astonishing speed. Hee, you don't see me as a human? You have to pay the price. Guan laughed sinisterly as he fled. To Guan's knowledge, no matter how powerful Ningyu was, he would not be unscathed. Guan's idea was simple. He would escape from this area first and return after the shockwave of the explosion dissipated. At the center of the explosion, Ningyu focused his eyes. The vitality in his consciousness surged out and formed a vitality shield around him. Crack. Although the vitality in Ningyu's consciousness was very rich, Guan had thrown out too many storage bags, causing the explosion to be extremely powerful. Even though Ningyu resisted with all his might, he could only hold on for a short while. Crack, crack, crack. The crisp cracking sounds became more and more rapid. In the end, the vitality shield around Ningyu was completely destroyed. Damn it. Seeing the vitality shield shattering, Ningyu cursed and hurriedly released his early stage rank 7 soul power. TSK. TSK. The soul power formed a defensive line and withstood the shockwave of the explosion. Phew. After about 10 minutes, Ningyu let out a long sigh of relief. That was close. Fortunately, his soul power had advanced to early stage rank 7. Otherwise, this explosion would have been enough to severely injure Ningyu. I was too careless. Ningyu narrowed his eyes. He did not chase after Higuan. Instead, he found a secluded place nearby and began to recuperate. My cultivation is now at the early stage manifestation realm. It will be difficult for me to advance to the mid-stage manifestation realm in a short period of time. If I want to improve my strength, I have to cultivate the netherworld samsara palm. Up until now, Ningyu had already cultivated the netherworld samsara palm to the 7th move, the palm of life and death. With the increase of his cultivation and soul power, the life and death palm had already fallen behind. Therefore, Ningyu decided to cultivate the 8th style of the netherworld samsara palm, the 3 lives palm. As the name implied, the 3 lives palm could split into 3 and attack the enemy from 3 different directions. The 3 lives palm had a higher requirement for soul energy. One had to be at the peak of rank 6 in order to practice it. Ningyu's soul strength had reached the early stage of level 7. Coupled with his strong perception, it was not very difficult for him to cultivate 3 lives palm. After about half an hour, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and pushed out his right hand quickly. Rumble. In a split second, a terrifying palm print peeled off from Ningyu's palm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In mid-air, the palm print split into 3 and exploded again. Boom, boom, boom. Hiss. Looking at the 3 palm prints exploding in mid-air, Ningyu's eyes narrowed and he gasped. The 8th style of the netherworld samsara palm was indeed powerful. Even one of the palm prints was much more powerful than the palm of life and death. Most importantly, if the 3 palm prints were combined, the power would be heaven-defying. Furthermore, Ningyu hadn't poured his 7th grade soul force into the 3 births palm. Once he poured his 7th grade soul force into his palm and combined it with his yuan qi, the might of the 3 births palm would be enough to easily kill an ordinary half-step supreme being. It has only been an hour. I can go back now. After resting for a few minutes, when the vitality in his sea of consciousness had recovered by 2/3, Ningyu stood up and wanted to return to Qianxian City. If Higuan wanted to run in an hour, he would definitely be very far away. If he wanted to chase after him now, it would be very difficult. Rather than wasting time, he might as well return to Qianxian City and work hard to improve his strength. Go back. Where do you want to go? However, just as Ningyu stood up and was about to leave, an indifferent voice rang in his ears. Hearing this, Ningyu frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "Come out." Buzz buzz. The space in front of Ningyu was torn apart and a young man gradually appeared. Higuan. Seeing the martial artist that appeared from the void, Ningyu was stunned at first, then he revealed a joyful expression. "You could have taken the road to heaven, but you chose to barge into hell. Are you sure you're talking about me?" Higuan pointed at his nose and said hesitantly, "If I'm not wrong, you only have 20% of your combat power left. I don't deny that you were very powerful at your peak, but I can defeat you with one hand now. The ignorant are fearless." Ningyu could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Higuan. Earlier, he did not kill Higuan and let him escape. This time, Ningyu would not hold back. 3 lives palm. Coincidentally, Ningyu had cultivated the 3 lives palm. He directly injected the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness into his palm and instantly blasted out a palm print. Swoosh. The palm-sized palm print drew an arc in the air and headed straight for Higuan. "Hey, you want to kill me with a mere palm print? Have you lost your mind?" Seeing the palm print that was constantly attacking him, Higuan's lips curled up slightly and he smiled sinisterly. "Since you've lost your mind, I'll treat it for you." Higuan's imagination was too optimistic. As the palm print got closer and closer to him, the smile on his face became less and less. Finally, it stopped. Pa. A muffled sound was heard. 5 blood-red palm prints appeared on Higuan's face. As for Higuan's body, it was like a kite with a broken string, falling straight backward. Crack. He hit a towering tree and the huge tree was snapped in half. Higuan spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was ashen. "You should be grateful to me." Ningyu's figure flashed and appeared in front of Higuan in the blink of an eye. "Fortunately, I held back at the critical moment. Otherwise, you'd have been sent to hell." The 3 lives palm was extremely powerful. If Ningyu used his full strength, Higuan might not even be left with a piece of him. The reason why Higuan was not killed on the spot was that Ningyu did not wrap his soul force around his palm and did not cause the 3 lives palm to explode. Otherwise, even 10 Higuan would not be able to survive. Don't be too proud. Supremacy Yun Tian will be here in 3 minutes at most. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Higuan snorted coldly. He was not afraid of Ningyu at all. You still dare to be stubborn when you're about to die. Originally, Ningyu wanted to spare Higuan's life. At the very least, he wanted to force out the main intention of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Ningyu did not believe that the people of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple would come to the Great Xia Kingdom just to find him. However, since Higuan did not know what was good for him, Ningyu finally decided to kill him. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out the red demon sword and slashed at Higuan's head. What kind of demon is this? How dare you kill Higuan? I think you're tired of living. If you know what's good for you, stop now. Otherwise, I'll make sure you have nowhere to go. Chapter 880. Chapter 880. Death Venerable Yun Tian, save me. Hearing this loud shout, Higuan hurriedly shouted. Save you? Ningyu's face turned cold as he continued. The Venerable Yun Tian that you speak of is at least 30 seconds away. 30 seconds is more than enough for me to kill you. As he spoke, the red demon sword in Ningyu's hand swiftly slashed down. You can't kill me, you can't. Looking at the flying sword that was constantly approaching him, Higuan screamed like a madman. Poof! However, Higuan had only shouted halfway when he suddenly stopped. Blood splattered everywhere. Higuan, who was lying on the ground, widened his eyes. Even in death, Higuan couldn't understand why Ningyu was so daring. Venerable Yun Tian was a pinnacle grade 1 sovereign. Even if Ningyu tried his best to escape, he wouldn't be able to escape. Higuan could only slowly think about it in hell. Damn it! Not far from Ningyu, Venerable Yun Tian felt that Higuan had been killed. He instantly flew into a rage out of humiliation and ignited his blood essence to increase his speed. Rustle. The distance of 30 seconds was forcefully shortened to 10 seconds by Venerable Yun Tian. 10 seconds later, Venerable Yun Tian arrived in this region. You're very confident and arrogant. Sweeping a glance at Higuan's corpse, Venerable Yun Tian's gaze fell onto Ningyu. Do you know Higuan's identity? So what if I do? So what if I don't? Ningyu faintly replied. Clap. Clap. Venerable Yun Tian clapped his hands and said, I like people like you. Ningyu looked at Venerable Yun Tian in disgust. I'm sorry, but I don't have gay hobbies. Higuan has a high-rank human sovereign backing him up in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Now that you've killed him, no one in this world can save you. Venerable Yun Tian coldly snorted. Oh, may I ask if Liu Qiong has any backing in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple? Ningyu asked. Liu Qiong. His father is the 6th Grand Elder of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Supremacy Cloud Sky said coldly. Mu Tian's father is the 5th Supreme Elder of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, and Liu Qiong's father is the 6th Supreme Elder of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Higuan has the backing of a high-level human sovereign. Am I destined to go against the Supreme Nine Purities Temple? Ningyu frowned and murmured. During this period of time, Ningyu could be said to have killed many people. However, every time Ningyu killed someone, he felt very helpless. Mu Tian had caused trouble for him time and time again, so he had to kill him to vent his anger. Liu Qiong also wanted to kill him, otherwise, she would not have died. What are you mumbling about? Don't worry. Even though you killed Higuan, I won't kill you on the spot. Supremacy Cloud Sky said coldly, I will bring you back to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple and hand you over to Higuan's backing to kill you. But even though you can escape death, you cannot avoid suffering. You want to die. Ningyu interrupted Supremacy Cloud Sky and faintly said, if you want to fight, then fight. What's with all the nonsense? Crack. Supremacy Cloud Sky never imagined that Ningyu would dare to speak to him in this manner. Instantly, His entire body emitted cracking sounds. Swish. In the next moment, Supremacy Cloud Sky stomped on the ground and made his move. Come at me. Life-death palm. Seeing that Supremacy Cloud Sky was enraged, Ningyu's left fist turned into a palm and he threw out a palm print. The reason why Ningyu chose to enrage Supremacy Cloud Sky was because cultivators would easily lose their rationality when they were enraged. Otherwise, why would Ningyu be so foolish as to provoke Supremacy Cloud Sky? You're seeking death. Supremacy Cloud Sky flicked his wrist and threw out a backhand palm print, which clashed with Ningyu's palm print. When the two palm prints clashed, Ningyu's palm print dissipated as expected. Kai. Supremacy Cloud Sky's palm print continued to exert force. In the blink of an eye, it arrived beside Ningyu and landed on Ningyu's chest. Bang! When the palm print landed, Ningyu's body flew back. I can kill a mere early-stage manifestation realm cultivator with a flick of my finger. You're lucky today. I only have 50% of my strength left. Otherwise, you would have died a horrible death. Supremacy Cloud Sky said indifferently after forcing Ningyu back with one move. Only 50% of your strength. Hearing this, Ningyu's eyes turned, and the essence in his palm instantly dissipated. This is a rare opportunity. I can't miss it. Practically in an instant, Ningyu decided to fight Supremacy Cloud Sky to the death. In the beginning, Ningyu wanted to take advantage of Supremacy Cloud Sky's carelessness to heavily injure him. But now, Ningyu changed his mind. I'll take your life while you're down. Ningyu wanted to kill Supremacy Cloud Sky when he only had 50% of his strength left. Thinking about it, Ningyu immediately summoned all the essence in his sea of consciousness and wrapped it around his palm. Thereafter, Ningyu quietly summoned his initial 7th grade soul force and hid it under his essence. Ha ha ha, not to mention that you only have 50% of your strength left. Even if you're at your peak, I can still easily kill you. Ningyu did not attack immediately because he wanted to determine how much strength Supremacy Cloud Sky had left. If Supremacy Cloud Sky was lying, wouldn't he be in trouble? You're testing me? Venerable Yun Tian's brows twitched as he sinisterly said, that's useless. I'm a pinnacle 1st grade sovereign, and even 30% of my strength is enough to kill you. Who doesn't know how to talk big? Take this. Ningyu let out a low growl and dashed out. Kai. In order to heavily injure or even kill Supremacy Yun Tian, Ningyu had used a secret technique to hide his essence energy and soul power in his palm. At the same time, Ningyu said arrogantly, Venerable Yun Tian, although you're a pinnacle 1st grade human sovereign with a higher cultivation than me, you don't have to worry. You can bring out your full strength. Otherwise, it'll be embarrassing if you lose. Arrogant. The facts proved that Ningyu had really angered Supremacy Yun Tian. Originally, Supremacy Cloud Sky could only display 50% of his strength. After being enraged, he only used 30% of his strength to fight Ningyu. 3 lives palm. It was a rare opportunity that Ningyu couldn't let go of. Before his palm could collide with Supremacy Cloud Sky, Ningyu quickly waved his palm and a huge palm print flew out of his palm. Rustle. The palm print first split into 3, then the 3 palm prints merged together and collided with Supremacy Cloud Sky's palm print. Explode. Along with Ningyu's roar, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in this region. Rumble. With Supremacy Yun Tian at the center, the terrifying explosive force constantly spread out. Clang. Ningyu's face turned grave as he retreated and forced out several drops of blood essence to form a defensive line around him. Crack. All the trees in the surroundings were uprooted. It was so much so that even the air was being squeezed out, leaving a vacuum in the middle. Chapter 881. Not an impatient character, damn it. This is infuriating. Venerable Yun Tian was furious and vexed at the same time. If he knew that Ningyu's palm could explode and possess such a powerful might, he wouldn't have acted so arrogantly. He was originally only left with 50% of his strength. Now that he had used 30% of his strength, it would naturally be hard for him to withstand the explosion of the palm. But fortunately, Venerable Yun Tian possessed the powerful perception of a pinnacle first-grade sovereign. Otherwise, the explosion of the three-palm prince would be enough to send him to heaven. Poof! But even so, Venerable Yun Tian spat out a mouthful of blood before he felt a little better. Brat, you better not let me see you again. Otherwise, I will grind your bones into ashes. Venerable Yun Tian wiped the blood off the corner of his lips as he clenched his fist. You want to grind my bones into ashes? When Venerable Yun Tian finished his words, Ningyu flew over from afar. Seeing Ningyu before him, Venerable Yun Tian's heart jolted. He knew that the situation wasn't good. Venerable Yun Tian had used all his trump cards to withstand the explosion of the Palm Prince. His strength had dropped from 50% to less than 10%. Venerable Yun Tian knew his limits. He knew that it was tough for him to be Ningyu's opponent in his current state. Thus, he could only stabilize Ningyu before thinking of a way to leave. Pinnacle first-grade sovereign. Ningyu didn't seem to know that Venerable Yun Tian was trying to stall for time as he faintly said, although you have the qualifications to be arrogant, you only have 50% of your strength left. Stop acting. In this world, there's always someone stronger. You think that you have me in your grasp. Venerable Yun Tian's face was emotionless as he continued, no matter what, I'm still a pinnacle first-grade sovereign. My trump cards are not something that you can imagine. I know that pinnacle first-grade sovereigns have many trump cards. Ningyu nodded his head, agreeing with Venerable Yun Tian's words. However, suddenly, Ningyu changed the topic and continued, I dare to guarantee that you don't have any more trump cards left. Ha ha ha. Venerable Cloud Sky acted as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. After letting out a wild laugh, he said coldly, Little bastard, any one of my trump cards is enough to kill you. The reason you haven't attacked me is definitely because you are afraid of my trump card. Ningyu looked at Yun Tian like he was looking at a fool. He said indifferently, You misunderstand. I'm not afraid of your trump card. I'm just preparing something. Whoosh. With that, Ningyu flicked his wrist and drew out the red demon sword. This flying sword is, looking at the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand, Yun Tian opened his mouth in disbelief. It's just as you thought, it's a monarch rank flying sword. Ningyu said as he waved the red demon sword in his hand. As soon as the word sword was uttered, Ningyu's figure flickered and dashed out like a bolt of lightning. Ningyu's speed was very fast, and he arrived in front of Supremacy Cloud Sky almost instantly. Not good. Supremacy Cloud Sky's expression changed drastically. Right now, he only had about 10% of his combat power left. Facing Ningyu at his peak with only 10% of his combat power was a dead end. It was said that ordinary people could erupt with terrifying combat power in a desperate situation. Supremacy Cloud Sky was a pinnacle first-grade human sovereign, and he had an extremely terrifying combat power. In a split second, Supremacy Cloud Sky blasted out a terrifying fist radiance. Kai. However, even with Supremacy Cloud Sky's terrifying combat power, he could only hold a grudge against the monarch rank Red Demon Sword. The Red Demon Sword easily dispersed the fist aura that Cloud Sky Supremacy had unleashed. Then, under Cloud Sky Supremacy's horrified gaze, it stabbed into his heart. Fart. The sound of a flying sword piercing into flesh resounded. Looking down at the blood-red flying sword in his heart, Supremacy Cloud Sky felt that the vitality in his body was decreasing at an alarming rate. It felt like something was rapidly devouring his essence chi. Your flying sword is actually a devouring flying sword. Supremacy Cloud Sky tried his best to restrain the loss of vitality in his body, but unfortunately, he didn't have much strength left. He could only watch helplessly as his vitality entered the Red Demon Sword. You're right. This flying sword is a devouring flying sword. Moreover, it's a dual devouring flying sword that devours vitality and souls. Ningyu didn't hide it from Supremacy Cloud Sky and said indifferently. Fart. Supremacy Cloud Sky was originally a little vexed. Now that he heard Ningyu's words, he was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. It was a pity. Supremacy Cloud Sky didn't have the chance to continue fighting with Ningyu. With his heart pierced and the rapid loss of vitality, Supremacy Cloud Sky only lasted for 3 minutes before his eyes rolled back and he died on the spot. He actually lasted for 3 minutes. It seems like I have to be very careful when facing Supremacy Cloud Sky in the future. Ning Yu didn't expect that Supremacy Cloud Sky could last for 3 minutes after his heart was pierced. One must know that the warriors that Ning Yu killed in the past would die immediately as long as their hearts were pierced. The fact that Supremacy Cloud Sky could last for so long also gave Ning Yu a wake-up call. In the future, he had to be very careful when facing Supremacy Cloud Sky or warriors of higher realms. There might be people who could still be lively after their hearts were pierced and their heads were chopped off. Supremacy Cloud Sky is a peak grade 1 supremacy. After the Red Demon Sword devours and refines him, it should be able to help the Red Demon advance to the creation realm. The Dark Emperor and Hairy Ball were in the early stage creation realm. Only the Red Demon Sword was still in the Yin-Yang realm. The Red Demon had been with Ning Yu for a long time and was always at the front. Ning Yu couldn't let his cultivation be at the back. Kai. About 10 minutes later, the Red Demon Sword devoured all the vitality and soul force in Supremacy Cloud Sky's body. Ning Yu slowly came to Supremacy Cloud Sky's side and started searching. Only 1 million royal grade essence crystals. Supremacy Cloud Sky was a peak grade 1 supremacy. He might have some good treasures on him. After a while, Ning Yu found a storage bag. He used his perception and entered the storage bag. Although there were a lot of essence crystals in the storage bag, it didn't match Supremacy Cloud Sky's status at all. Let's search again. Ning Yu didn't give up and continued searching. A minute later, Ning Yu took a golden box from Supremacy Cloud Sky's waist. The box was square and had a total of 6 sides. There was a key on each side. There are so many keys. Could there be some heaven-defying treasure inside? Ning Yu frowned slightly and tried to open the box. After a while, Ning Yu chose to give up for the time being. I'll try to open it after I return to Tianxian City. I have to clean up the battlefield now. Ning Yu wasn't an impatient person. He was very steady and rarely made mistakes. Ning Yu didn't even let go of He Guan's things. He put them together with the things he found on Supremacy Cloud Sky's body into the storage bag. Afterward, Ning Yu carefully disposed of Supremacy Cloud Sky and He Guan's corpses and tried to restore everything to its original state. Chapter 882. Initiation Tianchuan City, Ning Family. After the battle, the Ning family seemed very quiet. In order to prevent the members of the family from being hurt again, the acting head of the Ning family, Ning Tang, announced that no one was allowed to leave the Ning family without permission. At this time, in the conference hall of the Ning family, Ning He sat at the head of the table. Below, the Dark Emperor, Lu Wei, Hong Mo, and the others sat on the right. On the left were Ning Tang and the younger generation of the Ning family. The hall was unprecedentedly gloomy, and no one spoke first. Ahem. After a quarter of an hour, Ning Tang coughed twice and broke the silence. He said to Ning He, Patriarch, do you think we should send someone to look for Ning Yu? Several hours had passed since Ning Yu left. Ning Yu had not returned for such a long time, so Ning Tang was inevitably worried. How about this? I'll leave all the matters of the Ning family to you. I'll look for Yu myself. Ning He said after pondering for a moment. Patriarch, the Ning family can't do without you. In my opinion, I'll look for Ning Yu. You stay, Ning Tang said with a frown. There's no need to say anything. I've made up my mind. Ning He waved his hand and said, I say, can we stop for a while? At this moment, the Dark Emperor rolled his eyes and said, Ning Yu's strength is not something you can figure out. Besides, that He Guan is only at the early stage of the manifestation realm. I can kill a martial artist of this level with one move. Although Ning Yu is slightly weaker than me, it's not a problem for him to deal with He Guan. Hiss. Hearing this, everyone in the Ning family in the hall gasped. Killing an early stage manifestation realm martial artist with one move? That was too terrifying. What you need to do now is to wait. The Dark Emperor was very satisfied with the reaction of the Ning family, and continued, your cultivation is too low, The higher ones are only in the Yuandan realm, the true martial realm, the lower ones are only in the Hutian realm, the body-tempering realm. His worlds apart from Ning Yu. The faces of the Ning family darkened. Originally, the fact that a dog could speak human language had already shocked them, but this dog was also very arrogant, which really made them speechless. I wonder what is Ning Yu's cultivation? Ning Tang said hesitantly. Create. The Dark Emperor opened his mouth, but just as he was about to speak, he stopped abruptly. He glanced at the entrance of the hall and said, "He's here, ask him yourself." Whoosh. When the Dark Emperor's voice rang out, a skinny figure suddenly appeared at the entrance of the hall. Ning Yu. Without a doubt, the thin figure at the entrance of the hall was Ning Yu. Because of what the Dark Emperor had just said, the younger generation of the Ning family all looked at Ning Yu in admiration. Grandfather, have you recovered from your injuries? Ignoring the gazes of the crowd, Ning Yu went straight to Ning He's side and asked. Although Ning Yu could use his perception to probe Ning He's body, and Ning He would definitely not be able to discover it, but Ning Yu did not intend to do so. After all, Ning He was his grandfather in this life, and it would be unfilial of him to do so. All right, it's all thanks to your friend's help. Ning He's face revealed a smile as he pointed at the Red Devil and said, "Why didn't you say it was me? I helped too." Ning He only mentioned the Red Devil and not the Dark Emperor, causing the Dark Emperor's face to be filled with displeasure. Go to the side. Ning Yu glared at the Dark Emperor fiercely, and then said in a clear voice, "What happened to the Ning family this time was purely accidental, there is no need to panic. I will stay in the Ning family for a few days. In these few days, I will take out an hour every day to explain the confusion of alchemy and martial arts. If there's nothing else, let's disperse. See you tomorrow morning at the Ning family's martial arts field." No matter what, Ning Yu came from the Ning family, so it was natural for him to help the younger generation of the Ning family. Hearing Ning Yu's words, the younger generation of the Ning family looked at Ning Yu gratefully, and then left one by one. Dark Emperor, you guys can leave first. I have something to talk to grandfather about alone. Seeing that the Dark Emperor and the rest were still untactfully staying here, Ning Yu said indifferently. If you want to leave, then leave. What kind of good place do you think this is? The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes, and then he left the hall without looking back. Lu Wei, the Red Devil, and the others also bade farewell to Ning Yu. Even Ning Tang and the other elders of the Ning family left obediently. In an instant, the conference hall changed from a lot of people to just Ning Yu and Ning He. Whoosh. In order to prevent the conversation from being eavesdropped, Ning Yu waved his hand, and suddenly a wave of primordial chi flew out, completely sealing the hall. Is your cultivation really at the creation realm? Feeling the terrifying primordial chi leaking out of Ning Yu's every move, Ning He asked in surprise. More or less. Afraid that Ning He would overthink, Ning Yu did not tell him directly, but changed the topic. Grandfather, is there any news of my father recently? Your father? Ning He frowned slightly and shook his head. I haven't heard from him since he left the Ning family. It seems that he really went to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Thinking of what he had heard in the magical Beast Mountain range, Ning Yu took a deep breath, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Back then, Ning Yu did not know Ning Hai's specific cultivation. Now that he thought about it, he could clearly judge that Ning Hai's cultivation was at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm at that time. Going to the Supreme Nine Purities Temple with the cultivation of the peak of the Yin-Yang realm? It was tantamount to seeking death. After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu said, Grandfather, your cultivation is at the early primordial core realm, not too far from the middle primordial core realm. Let me help you. As he spoke, Ning Yu waved his hands repeatedly and suddenly patted Ning He's back. Buzz. Wisps of primordial chi flowed through Ning Yu's palm into Ning He's back, and then into Ning He's consciousness. Empowerment. Ning He's aptitude was not very good. In theory, it was difficult for him to make any more achievements in his lifetime. Therefore, Ning Yu chose the most direct and violent way to improve his strength, empowerment. I'm an old man, At first, Ning He did not know what Ning Yu was going to do, but when he reacted, he hurriedly said. Using empowerment on him was a complete waste of resources. Bang! However, before Ningyi finished speaking, he felt a muffled sound in his consciousness. The middle primordial core realm. At this moment, Ningyi broke through the limit of the early primordial core realm and advanced to the middle primordial core realm. Again, since it was empowerment, Ningyi would certainly not only help Ningyi advance from the early primordial core realm to the middle primordial core realm. Next, regardless of Ningyi's dissuasion, Ningyi continued to increase his strength and transferred primordial qi to Ningyi. Time passed by minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Bang! Bang! In these 3 hours, 2 more muffled sounds came from Ningyi's consciousness. The peak of the primordial core realm. After 3 hours of continuous empowerment, Ningyi finally reached the peak of the primordial core realm. As for Ningyi, he was sweating profusely, and even his breath was a little weak. Crack. Chapter 883. Rushing Thunder Hand. Chapter 883, Thunder Hand. This. Ningyi was originally very shocked when he advanced to the peak of the primal core realm. However, when he found out that Ningyi took out the royal grade essence crystal, he was immediately stunned. That was a royal grade essence crystal. Ningyi just threw it into his mouth and chewed it like that. Could it be that Ningyi was not afraid of bursting his stomach? A series of questions rose in Ningyi's mind, causing his expression to be very strange. Phew! Perhaps seeing the change in Ningyi's expression, Ningyi let out a long breath and said, "Grandfather, it's best not to tell anyone about me giving you the blessing." Gulp. Ningyi swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "Don't worry, I will never let a third person know." Swish. Ningyi flicked his sleeves, and a storage bag immediately flew towards Ningyi. Pa. Seeing Ningyi catch the storage bag, Ningyi continued, "You can keep the essence crystals inside. If it's not enough, find me again." As he spoke, Ningyi's figure flashed and instantly left the main hall. Looking at Ningyi's departing figure, Ningyi slightly exerted his perception and entered the storage bag to probe. Hiss. This probe directly made Ningyi dumbfounded. The essence crystals in the storage bag were not few, but a lot. There were a total of 10,000 royal grade essence crystals. If Ningyi knew that Ningyi originally intended to give him 100,000 royal grade essence crystals, he would probably be so surprised that he couldn't even speak. Ningyi did not alarm anyone. He first disguised himself and then left the Ning family and strolled on the streets of Tianqian City. There are really more and more experts. Feeling the terrifying aura emitted from the martial artists around him, Ningyi's expression became solemn. Compared to the capital of the Great Xia Kingdom, Tianqian City was just a small place. But it was in such a small place that there were many powerful experts. In the current Tianqian City, the true martial realm could only be described as low strength. The primal core realm was considered to have reached a higher level, but there were still many of them. Only by reaching the yin-yang realm would one be able to gain a firm foothold in Tianqian City and not be bullied by others. I wonder why so many people have gathered in profound Heaven City. After pondering for a while, Ningyi decided to go to the restaurant. Usually, the news in the restaurant was the fastest and most timely. There were all kinds of people there. "Sir, this way please." As soon as Ningyi stepped into the restaurant, a waiter greeted him and said, "It just so happens that there's only one seat left. What a coincidence that you've come. Give me a few dishes." Ningyi followed the manservant to a seat near the window and sat down. He casually tossed a few gold coins to the manservant and said, "Sir, this restaurant doesn't accept gold coins." The attendant revealed a troubled expression and hesitated. "No gold coins?" Ningyi raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully. "That's right. From 3 days ago, this restaurant only accepts origin crystals." The waiter took a closer look at Ningyi and said, "You may not know this, but the ingredients of this restaurant are all demonic beasts. It's very difficult to capture them, so the lowest requirement is low-grade origin crystals. Waiter, quickly prepare 5 catties of running bull beast thigh meat. We want to drink a cup." At this moment, a group of 4 to 5 people stepped into the restaurant shouting, One of the burly men was carrying a gold coin tiger on his shoulder. From the looks of it, he had just killed it. Seeing this, the waiter did not dare to delay. He hurried to the burly man and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, there are no more seats in Scattered Flower House. The last seat has just been." "What?" The burly man slammed the gold coin tiger on his shoulder onto the ground and shouted, "You're telling me there are no more seats?" "Fart." After being yelled at by the burly man, the waiter spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and his body swayed. The waiter was only a carnate stage martial artist, while the burly man was a peak primal core stage martial artist. There was no comparison between the two. The waiter was already very lucky that he did not die from the roar. "Whoever has taken the last seat, if you know what's good for you, get out of my way. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." The burly man snorted coldly, his gaze moving around the restaurant. Swoosh. At that moment, everyone's gaze turned to Ningyu. Bang. The burly man slammed his palm on the table in front of Ningyu and said coldly, "Don't you understand human language? Get out of my way, or else don't blame me for being rude. Hey, hurry up and leave." Thunder Hand Wen Tai is a peak primal core stage martial artist. His strength is unparalleled. You are no match for him. That's right. Don't underestimate Wen Tai just because he is a peak primal core stage martial artist. He is fearless even when up against an early yin-yang stage martial artist. Kid, if you leave now, you still have a way out. Otherwise, no one will be able to protect you. The sounds of discussion that reached his ears caused the corners of Wen Tai's mouth to curl up, as if he was the most powerful person in the world. Get out. Ningyu's face was expressionless as he uttered a single word. Whoosh. At that moment, all the martial artists in the restaurant put down their chopsticks and looked at the skinny figure in shock. Daring to tell Thunder Hand Wen Tai to get out. Either he was strong, or he was stupid. Obviously, everyone thought that Ningyu was the latter. This was because the aura that Ningyu exuded was only that of an early primal core stage martial artist. No one believed that an early primal core stage martial artist like Ningyu was Wen Tai's match. Ha ha ha. Hearing Ningyu's words, Wen Tai was stunned at first, then he threw his head back and laughed. After laughing, Wen Tai unleashed the aura of a peak primal core stage martial artist and suddenly pressed towards Ningyu. Kid, how dare you go against me? No one in this world can save you. Feeling the aura of a peak primal core stage martial artist coming towards him, Ningyu merely frowned and did not react. More accurately, Ningyu did not want to lower himself to Wen Tai's level. At that moment, Ningyu's attention was completely focused on one of the rooms on the second floor of the restaurant. From within the room, Ningyu felt an extremely terrifying aura. An expert, an absolute expert. Ningyu took a deep breath and his expression became serious. Ningyu, please come up for a chat. At that moment, a calm voice reached Ningyu's ears. Hearing this, Ningyu's brows furrowed and he fell into deep thought. Everyone's jaws dropped, completely dumbfounded. The person you are fighting is a peak primal core stage martial artist, and you have no reaction at all? Kid, you have completely infuriated me. Being ignored by Ningyu, Wen Tai snorted and immediately clenched his right hand into a fist, viciously punching towards Ningyu's head. As if he could see the horrible scene of Ningyu's brain exploding, Wen Tai laughed sinisterly and said, "Offending me, the Thunder Hand Wen Tai, I will make sure you have nowhere to go." Fart. The difference between ideals and reality was often only a distance of a cold ray of light. Bang. Ningyu flicked his finger and instantly a cold ray of light flew out and hit Wen Tai's chest. The huge force that came from his chest caused Wen Tai's body to fly several meters away. Fresh blood spurted out, and Wen Tai's face was extremely pale. Whoosh. At that moment, the entire restaurant was so quiet that even breathing could be heard clearly. Chapter 884. The Sainters. Creak, creak. Ignoring the exclamations of the crowd, Ningyu walked straight to the door and pushed it open. There were a total of 2 martial artists in the room. One was an old man and the other was a young woman. The old man's sideburns were white and there was nothing special about him. The young woman was beautiful, No different from Lu Wei. The old man's body seemed to be wrapped in something. Even with Ning Yu's superb perception, he could only vaguely feel that the old man's cultivation was at the supreme realm. As for the young woman, her cultivation was even more vague. At first glance, the young woman seemed very ordinary. But upon closer inspection, she wasn't ordinary at all. Ha, welcome, welcome. Seeing Ning Yu walk in, the young woman faintly smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself. You can call me Yun Mu. This is Supreme Talisman Marshal." The young woman pointed at the old man. Ning Yu didn't speak. He only quietly listened. Ning Yu was very clear that since Yun Mu called him over, there must be something he wanted to say. And the facts proved that Ning Yu's guess was correct. Yun Mu said, "You must be wondering why I know your name. I'm not afraid to tell you that I come from the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion." Hearing this, Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. But on the surface, he still maintained a calm and indifferent appearance. Seeing Ning Yu's reaction, Yun Mu couldn't help but look at Ning Yu in a higher light. He slowly said, "The Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion has a total of 9 major branches. The ones that have a grudge with you are only the 7th, 8th, and 9th branches. Don't beat around the bush. If you have something to say, just say it." Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating that Yun Mu didn't need to beat around the bush. They were all smart people. If they continued to beat around the bush, it would be a waste of time. "You really are straightforward." Yun Mu's red lips parted. "I am a genius of the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. To be more accurate, I am the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch's Saintess." "Saintess? I don't think that has anything to do with me." Ning Yu frowned. "Hihi, the past indeed has nothing to do with you." Yun Mu faintly smiled. Then, he changed the topic and said, "But after you killed Jiu Yuan and the others, we became related. What does it matter?" Ning Yu said calmly, "You might not know, but the 7th to 9th branches of the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion all listen to Zhu Zhen's orders. You killing Jiu Yuan and the others is the same as cutting off one of Zhu Zhen's arms. Do you think that Zhu Zhen won't look for trouble with you?" Yun Mu explained. "Who is Zhu Zhen?" Ning Yu was puzzled. Zhu Zhen is a genius of the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch. He is also the first branch's Saint Son. In the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion, there is a rule that every branch's saintess must unconditionally marry a saint son when they are 20 years old. Yun Mu continued. "I got it." Ning Yu nodded and murmured. Yun Mu had already made it very clear. Even if Ning Yu was a pig, he would still be able to guess the ins and outs of the matter. Zhu Zhen and Yun Mu were respectively the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branches Saint Son and Saintess. Among them, Zhu Zhen secretly controlled the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's 7th, 8th, and 9th branches. Ning Yu had killed many geniuses of the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's 7th to 9th branches. Naturally, he had formed a grudge with Zhu Zhen. If I'm not wrong, then Miss Yun Mu also has a grudge with Zhu Zhen. Ning Yu lightly said, "As the saying goes, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. That's why you came looking for me. But, I have a little doubt. How did you know that I would definitely agree?" "Because you have no other choice." Yun Mu said, "Zhu Zhen has already personally issued the 9 Cauldrons killing order. You might not be aware of it, but I can tell you clearly that Zhu Zhen once issued the 9 Cauldrons killing order to a second-grade mortal sovereign. That second-grade mortal sovereign only lived for half a month before meeting the King of Hell." After a slight hesitation, Ning Yu calmly said, "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to pretend to be my boyfriend." Yun Mu smiled. Yun Mu's request was very funny, but Ning Yu couldn't bring himself to laugh. "You're forcing me onto a dead end." Ning Yu found a chair and sat down. He placed his hands behind his head and lightly said. Ning Yu wasn't a hothead. Since Yun Mu had found him, he must have investigated his movements during this period of time. Perhaps Yun Mu even knew his true strength. If he agreed to Yun Mu's request at this time, it would be the same as becoming enemies with the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion's first branch's Saint Son, Zhu Zhen. Before figuring out Zhu Zhen's true strength, Ning Yu wouldn't easily agree. Sir Ning must be joking. Yun Mu blinked his eyes, his appearance very moving. He said, "I've already used all my connections to suppress the matter of you killing Jiu Yuan and the others. Currently, in the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, besides Zhu Zhan and me, only Supremacy Marshal knows about this." Dong. 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 Ningyu glanced at Supremacy Marshal and then lightly tapped his fingers on the table. "What is Zhu Zhan's cultivation?" After a while, Ningyu asked. "Half-step supremacy," Yunmu replied. "What do you want me to do?" Ningyu asked. "It's very simple. 3 days from now, Supremacy Marshal and I will head to the magical Beast Mountain range. At that time, you just need to come with us." Yunmu said. "No problem. We'll meet again." After saying this, Ningyu left the room without looking back. "Aunt Yun, do you think Ningyu can be trusted?" Yunmu said to the Talisman Marshal Venerable the moment Ningyu left. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely be shocked. In just a blink of an eye, the Talisman Marshal Venerable had transformed into a charming and noble lady. She disguised herself as a man. Her methods were truly profound. She was actually able to escape Ningyu's eyes. A few days have passed since Zhu Zhan issued the 9 Cauldrons bounty. Ningyu was able to arrive at Profound Sky City unscathed. This is enough to prove his strength and ability. Aunt Yun said calmly, according to a reliable source, Ningyu has already become a key figure in the struggle for power. Let's first tie him tightly to us. Even if we encounter danger in the magical Beast Mountain range, we will have an additional layer of protection. Aunt Yun, does Ningyu really have such good luck? Yunmu hesitated. Before coming to Profound Sky City, I once asked Elder Tianji to personally perform a divination. Aunt Yun took a deep breath and said, "The divination shows that the magical Beast Mountain range is surrounded by a violet aura. Someone will definitely rise to power. But, how can you be sure that the rising person will be Ningyu?" Yunmu asked, puzzled. "Elder Tianji once taught me the aura-gazing technique. Just now, I saw that Ningyu's forehead was full and there was a faint violet aura circling above his head. From this, it can be seen that this child is definitely extraordinary." Aunt Yun said, "Also, Zhu Zhan spread the word that in 3 days, he will find you to marry and enjoy the intimacy of husband and wife." Me. Wishful thinking. Yunmu coldly snorted and said, "Zhu Zhan is a sinister and cunning person. In order to achieve his goals, he will do anything. The only reason he wants to marry me is to make me his cauldron." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,